Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
All right. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I do want to let you know that Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on, actually once a month for our monthly roundtable, which should be coming up around soon. And you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, Twitter, and Rumble. And welcome back, guys. We have quite a bit to get into tonight. Tonight's theme is what to expect. There was this book called What to Expect When You're Expecting. We're just talking about what to expect, period, from all of these stories tonight. I have to tell you, Eric texted me last night, and we were going back and forth talking about the Epstein files. And one thing I think that we've both realized is just how fast this is moving. It's like every day there's new information that is coming out, and we have more to discuss tonight. So I hope I'm not overloading you with Epstein stuff. It's just that it's more information every day that I feel is important for you to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have quite a bit to get into. Let's go ahead and start out by giving shout outs to people in the chat. What is up, fam? What is going on? Anonymous says, oh shit, Chris Hedges too? Say it ain't so. Chris Hedges is not in the files, but Chris Hedges did respond to this Noam Chomsky situation. We're going to talk about that tonight because I think people are really melting down about this. Shout out to NA says, to Anonymous, it ain't so. Hedges commented on Chomsky. He was scathing. Yeah. Shout out to Blockbuster says, hi. Greetings. FAFO says, drop the motherfucking names. Greetings. CBC Voter says, happy Tuesday, Sabby and Eric. Shout out to Lorez says, hi, Sabby, Eric, Corey, and RBN fam. Sorry, Sabby, no seventh chip for y'all. Steelers and their fans are happy. LOL. Yeah, I know. You can't win them all. You can't win them all. But I told you guys going into it, I was like, I don't think we're going to win. Seattle is that's a force to be reckoned with. Greetings, Active Guardian. We need to know who protected Lex Wexner. These people have names and offices and home addresses. If they are retired, they are as guilty as Wexner and should be punished accordingly. Yeah. When we get into it tonight, I'm going to explain to you how these people have been able to be protected. Greetings, Ronnie says, hello, Sabby. Hope all is going well. I just hope that everyone that is guilty of these horrendous crimes in these pedophiles see the inside of a jail cell for life. Greetings, Kimi says, Nippy Houston voice. Sabby, Sabby! Evening, fam. Evening, Eric. Evening, Corey. Let's do this. Greetings, Jerte says, free Palestine. That's right. Thank you for the super chat and shout out to Measured Men. You give my family and humanity hope. Let's get this movement started. Thank you for all you do. You relit a fire that was dwindling in me. Oh, well, thank you. That's really sweet. Well, you know what? Other people relit that fire in me first. You know, I felt like it was dwindling as well. Greetings, Silver Surfer says, Sabby, keep speaking truth to power. Shout out to Cloudness. Celtics and Patriots both got stomped. I knew you were going to say something. And one day, great weekend. Other than that, it's been slow. Boogie salute, Sabs. Everyone in the chat, be one fam. Yeah, I know. Greetings, Johanna says, every single one of them, the whole U.S. government, royal family, the whole family in Hollywood and the music industry, and many others. Yeah, it's a lot of people that are complicit with this. Shout out to Hannah says, patiently waiting. And shout out to Karen. Only saw the 5 latest because of another channel. All right. Greetings, and welcome all. Let's go ahead and dive in again. The theme tonight is what to expect. What to expect. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you keeping the lights on around me, fam. If you're interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. We have the ultimate. We have a group called Sabinators. They say later gators. We also have those Sabsters. Don't forget about the Sabbies. The most popular group here, it seems like, is always the Sabbies. Sabbies. And of course, last but not least, we also have members. All of their names are listed here, and you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen on that ticker there throughout the show. And I want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. We call them newbies. Let's give it up for Antoinette Mitchell. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. And welcome to everyone. We are back up in this piece. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into it. What are we discussing tonight, ladies and gents? Oh, buddy. Let's go ahead and share this thumbnail. I got to tell you, the past couple of weeks for news has just been wild, man. It's really been wild. Tonight, ladies and gents, we are discussing, my hair is a mess. I can't deal with this. Oh, well, it doesn't want to stay down. It just is what it is. Oh, well. Sorry, guys. Tonight, we are discussing Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna dropping names, naming names. They are like Rihanna at this point. They say, I'm kicking ass. I'm taking names. There's a lot happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. And again, like I said, we got to give credit where credit is due, because the reality is, had it not been for Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massie coming together on this, you wouldn't even have the information that you have right now. We got to be honest about that. We're going to get into all of that, and also this issue with Ghislaine Maxwell, because she is asking for a pardon. We're also going to discuss Chris Hedges has responded to Noam Chomsky not only being in the Epstein files, but he has also responded to Noam Chomsky's wife, Valerie, the statement that she gave about their relationship with Noam Chomsky. And I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you guys, Chris left no crumbs. So prepare yourself for that one. We're also discussing billionaire and New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft has really pissed off a lot of people, especially Black Twitter, with this new initiative that he has. It's not just the Super Bowl ad, it's everything else that Robert Kraft is doing to try to get Black people to align with Israel. We're going to get into that. So brace yourself for that one. Black Twitter is not happy, not happy. We're also going to discuss the gentleman there with the cowboy hat. That is John Boyd. He is a part of the Black Farmers Association. He's been very vocal about the farming industry and things that are needed for Black farmers. They're not getting the same things in return. He just made an announcement recently. He's running into more issues. We're seeing that this is a bipartisan issue because he spoke about this under the Biden administration as well. He's been fighting for this for years. So we're going to get into the update here about what's happening with Black farmers in the United States. And last but definitely not least, every freaking political YouTuber should be discussing this story right now. And you need to ask yourself why they're not discussing it. And that is TikTok, or excuse me, not TikTok, Discord. The gentleman here that you see next to the guy in the cowboy hat, that is Hamam. He is the new CEO of Discord. And Discord just made a recent announcement that is going to impact censorship and also, of course, surveillance. They are literally trying to change the internet as we know it. And every single commentator should be covering this story. All right. Now that I have said all that, now that I have said all of that, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? If you have not had a chance to do so, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share just like a Care Bear. Again, the theme, ladies and gentlemen, is what to expect. And I'm going to start off by telling you what to expect with this new announcement from Discord. Discord is a platform. It was more so popularized by gamers. That's how I first heard about it. A lot of my friends that are into video games, they have a Discord account and they can play other people with like these, Final Fantasy, all these real world or real gamer performance video games. They can play each other with those games and they can do it online. And at the same time, while they're doing that, they can talk to each other and chat on Discord. So that's how I came to know of Discord, was from the gaming community. Along the way, more people started to create other communities on Discord. In particular, a lot of us that are political commentators, we have a Discord group where all of you guys can just click on the link and you guys can chat and share things with each other. That is going to change. And I want to tell you what is happening. A couple of days ago, I was sounding the alarm about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's speech at Congress, where he was asking for more restrictions. And the way that they are doing this is very sneaky, because what they're doing, including Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's an actor, he played Edward Snowden. Very interesting, considering he didn't really learn anything from what Edward Snowden was really fighting for. The reality is they are calling for age verification, and they do this in a sneaky way. They say this is to protect the children. But what they are actually doing is gathering your information. And I'm going to explain to you how this also leads to censorship and how this can change the internet as we know it. So just want to take you back so that you understand. They have this sign that says "Hold Big Tech Accountable." This is Joseph Gordon-Levitt here, actor. And this is, I think, what confuses some people, the "Hold Big Tech Accountable," which, by the way, I support breaking up big tech. But I think this is confusing people, because when people hear about let's repeal Section 230, they're like, oh, yeah, well, Democrats want to do it because they want to break up big tech. I agree with that. Republicans want to do it for other reasons. They want more moderation. But the reality is both parties support this. And I want you to understand why this is incredibly dangerous, right? They're not telling you all the other implications that come with this. So what did Joseph say? Let's get into this here. He said these immoral companies, they just keep allowing these awful things to happen on their platforms, and they won't do anything about it because they will always prioritize profits over the public good, even when it comes to kids. Now, what Joseph went on to say is that he thinks that the big problem on social media is there's all these conspiracies. Joseph is also pro-Israel. You do have to know that. He is a Zionist. And that's what this is really ultimately about. People aren't liking, or the pro-Israel side, they're not liking what they've seen on social media platforms when it comes to Israel. So that's important tidbit there for you to know. And a lot of people were praising this, not realizing who he is or what they're really asking for. So he's one of the people that is calling for these age restrictions because he says it's there to protect the kids. Well, let's go on because they get into this part about Section 230, right? It says the actor joined Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin to promote the Illinois Senator's Sunset Section 230 Act. This is bipartisan legislation aimed at rolling back this decades of the Communications Decency Act. Now, this goes all the way back to 1996. The provision has, for decades, shielded social media companies from lawsuits related to content hosted on their platforms, which parents and advocates say unfairly protects big tech, even as its products harm minors. So, what the Democrats are pushing by this is they're saying that we need to have this repeal because this is going to break up big tech, right? The Republican Party is pushing this because they said we need to have more moderation. These kids don't need to see all these things. So I come in with this and I say that is a parent's job. If parents don't want their kids on certain platforms, that is the job of the parents, not these platforms. And I've been very clear about that. So why is this important? Ken Klippenstein was trying to sound the alarm about this as well. He said it seems pretty clear the government is coming for Discord users. And let me show you what they're doing. It's called violent extremists. See what they're referring to? Violent extremists could exploit functionality of popular online gaming platforms and applications. So they're using that as an excuse as well. They're saying, well, these people are violent extremists and we got to protect the kids from these violent extremists. So we really got to repeal Section 230, right? Okay. Now, what do you notice about Discord? Discord checks off all these boxes: text chat, voice chat, video chat, image sharing, a friend list, discoverable communities. When you compare it to some of these other platforms here, Battle, Fortnite, PlayStation, Roblox, Steam, and Twitch, they don't check every box the way that Discord does. They're really trying to stop people from forming communities, right? Let's see what Discord just said. This is their announcement. Discord launches teen by default settings globally. You make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see here. So listen to this. Discord is announcing enhanced teen safety features rolling out globally that reinforce its long-standing commitment to creating a safer and more inclusive experience for users over the age of 13. As part of this update, all new and existing users worldwide will have a teen-appropriate experience by default with updated communication settings, restricted access to age-gated spaces, and content filtering that preserves the privacy and meaningful connections that defines Discord. So, how are they going to know your age? Obviously, you would have to provide some type of age verification. There are a lot of people that are on Discord that don't use their real name with good reason. And now it's like you're handing over that information. You're handing over your ID. You're handing over information to this platform, which just had a data breach in October. Now, it goes on to say here, beginning with a phased global rollout to new and existing users in early March. This is coming up quickly. Users may be required to engage in age verification process to change certain settings or access sensitive content. This includes age-restricted channels, servers, or commands and select message requests. So Discord has gone on to say, key privacy protections of Discord's age assurance approach. This includes video selfies for facial age estimation never leave a user's device. We don't know that for sure. They're making these claims, but we don't know. Quick deletion. Identity documents submitted to our vendor partners are deleted quickly, and in most cases, immediately after age confirmation. Straightforward verification. In most cases, users complete the process once and their Discord experience adapts to their verified age group. Users may be asked to use multiple methods only when more information is needed to assign an age group. Privacy status. A user's age verification status cannot be seen by other users. But we don't know that for sure because just in October, proof of age ID leaked in Discord data breach. They just had a data breach. So we don't know that. It says here that the video game chat platform Discord has suffered a data breach, informing users that their personal information, including identity documents of those required to prove their age, were compromised. That was in October. So, no, they can't promise you that the information that you provide about your identity, your name, your birthday is going to be kept private. So what is this really all about? We were screaming about this with TikTok. Taylor Lorenz has been covering this very heavily. If you go to her YouTube channel, she did a full breakdown about how Section 230 came into being and all of this. She said the policies that she's advocating for exploit kids by allowing big tech companies to harvest their data, including biometric data, en masse directly for their corporate profits. That's not leadership. It's pushing mass AI surveillance and endangering kids and adults. And she's referring to this comment here. Mallory McMorrow is fighting to put our kids over corporate profits. This is the leadership we need in the U.S. Senate. So I'm trying to warn you guys because I feel like people are getting this wrong. Anytime they are asking for this type of information, verify the age, we need proof of ID, you have no way of knowing for sure if that information is not going to be compromised. Now, let's get into the Section 230 part of this that Taylor said on her video could ultimately break the internet as we know it. So let's break this down a little bit. I have a video here that talks a little bit about Section 230.
It is a tiny law that's had a huge impact on the internet as we know it.
Twitter shadow banned 4 members of Congress.
The Trump campaign's Team Trump Twitter was temporarily blocked today.
Time may be running out for social media companies to censor content without repercussion.
Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place.
Section 230 is a tiny part of the Communications Decency Act that actually enables free speech on the internet today. The section says that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. It means that online outlets can host many kinds of content and they would not be legal owners of the content. That sentence.
Pause. This is the really important part, right? So if Section 230 is repealed, the problem that these platforms, and I'll explain how this will kick back to you, the problem that they may face is that right now, Section 230 basically protects them from being sued over the content on their platform. If this is repealed, the problem they may run into is that all it takes is for a couple of people to say, I don't like what this person posted on X about me. I don't like what this person posted on Facebook about me. I'm going to sue Facebook. I'm going to sue X. Now, how does that impact you? Well, if you seem to be some type of a liability for these platforms, they can easily just remove you. We're getting too many lawsuits over what you're posting. So you got to go. Now, Facebook is a rich company. They can fight back with some of these lawsuits, but the reality is it's not the same for all of these platforms. And this is what people have to understand. If these platforms are held to that standard where they are liable and they are responsible for what users like us post on their platforms, it's only a matter of time. They're going to start dismissing more and more accounts. And I would say ultimately these platforms will eventually just fall apart. Let's continue on a little bit more here.
Alone allowed the big tech organizations like Wikipedia, Twitter, Facebook, and many more to exist. Big tech. It is the buzzword for both political camps in the US, and big tech is the focus of 21st century free speech debates. There is a big skepticism toward these organizations, and it seems like Section 230 is the tool that enables this skepticism. So we see arguments to repeal Section 230 from both left and right. However, the truth lies in detail.
My name is Jennifer Huddleston, and I'm the Director of Tech and Innovation Policy at the American Action Forum, where my research focuses on the intersection of law and technology, including issues such as data privacy, online speech, and the way that regulation can impact the internet. Section 230 has been in the news a lot. It's one of those terms that we hear thrown around without a lot of explanation. What Section 230 is it's a part of a law that enables online platforms to engage in content moderation, to decide what type of content to allow and to leave up and take down, by saying that platforms aren't liable for the content that their users post or for the decisions that they make around content moderation, with a few exceptions, things like violating federal criminal law, some exceptions around copyright, as well as some more recent exceptions around specific bad acts such as sex trafficking.
Section 230 is the government regulation that democratized communication and media for once and for all. It allows people from all walks of life to join the conversation on the net. Imagine those tweets that are going viral from a very small account. That is the power of new media. Imagine the Black Lives Matter protests. Would they be so rampant around the country if they could not be shared on social media with others? A similar thing applies to the Me Too movement. Women all around the world started sharing their experience as a woman, and that connected these people around the world.
When it comes to social movements online, a lot of them have really benefited from the fact that Section 230 stops this kind of concern that platforms may have about carrying content that might be a little more controversial or.
That right there. Did everybody hear what she just said? So when we think about some of these movements that have happened, whether it's been like the Me Too movement, whether it's been BLM, whether it's been honestly the pro-Palestinian protests, a lot of that energy was coordinated online. A lot of the promotion was online on these social media platforms. And that's how they were able to reach so many people and get hundreds and thousands of people out in the streets. So if you listen to the way that they're talking about this in this video, they're basically saying, if we repeal Section 230, then we can calm those things down. This is what I've been trying to warn people about. They're really trying to make and create spaces where they limit the amount of community that we can have and how we build that community. So you shouldn't cheer on repealing Section 230. You should criticize big tech. Yes, big tech does need to be broken up. I've complained about that as well. But how they go about doing it really does matter. I mean, if they come in and repeal something like this, forget trying to create these different groups online. Like there's Facebook groups, there's X groups. Discord, of course, has multiple network of communities. They can break all of that up, and that would impact us. And this whole age verification thing, this is just a tool that they are using so that they have your information. Now, if they have your ID, they have your name, they have your age, and they see said person with this ID is in this community group on Discord, and they're talking about organizing a march. Now they know, and they can get to you and stop it before it even happens. Or, like I said, the Republican Party is using this by saying these people are violent extremists, so we have to go after those groups. The Democratic Party is using it to say that, well, we got to support repealing 230 because we got to break up big tech. The problem with this is that both parties support it, and they're not being honest with you about how this is going to impact your everyday. Think about this for a second. Think about the energy that we've had around different movements that we've had around, especially the pro-Palestinian movement fairly recently. A lot of that was promoted online. And another thing, for those of you that do those X spaces, formerly Twitter spaces, they can break that up too. This isn't just about Discord, right? Even if you do a quick AI search, I did this just to show you something. A quick AI search tells you about the implications of repealing it. Massive litigation and content changes. Platforms would likely shift from allowing free expression to either heavily moderating all content or removing it entirely to avoid lawsuits. Now, we know they already moderate content now, so they would ramp that up. That's something to take into consideration. The impact on all online services. The change would affect not just social media giants, Facebook, X, and YouTube, but also blogs, search engines, and any site with a comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, that would also include Substack. You see how it's not just about Discord? Potential collateral censorship. To avoid legal risk, platforms might take an overly cautious approach, removing lawful but controversial or even legitimate negative content. Think about it. If this were to happen, these platforms could say, you know what, we're removing anybody that talks about the Epstein files. Imagine if that happened on X. Just think about that for a second. Because it's controversial, not because you're wrong, but because it's controversial. Different political agendas. Call for repeal are bipartisan, with Republicans often citing censorship of conservative views, while Democrats focus on the failure to moderate harmful content, child safety issues. So they're both doing it. And they're really trying to stop, like I said, they're trying to stop us from building and establishing a community. I want you to hear what this woman said here about repealing Section 230.
Section 230 turns 30 this February, and lawmakers from both parties want it dead. They claim that Section 230 protects big tech platforms for accountability for toxic content and harm to kids online. But here's what Section 230 also protects: your local newspaper's comment section, the startup trying to build a better social media platform, and an independent journalist writing on Substack. And without it, platforms face a perverse choice: either abandon moderation entirely and claim ignorance about the toxic content on their sites, or scrub everything remotely controversial to avoid lawsuits. Meanwhile, Meta and Google, they'd be fine. They can afford the lawyers. They might even prefer a world where competitors get sued out of existence. So when the lawmakers talk about repealing Section 230 to punish big tech, ask them who actually gets hurt. Because it's not Mark Zuckerberg, it's your hometown paper, it's your next generation of platforms, it's your own free expression online. Platform accountability is needed, but tearing down Section 230 doesn't hurt the powerful. It silences everyone else.
That's the part they don't tell you, how it silences everyone else. So what to expect? If this passes, if they repeal Section 230, I'm warning you now, it won't stop with Discord. Remember, any platform that has a comment section, that includes a lot of them. Like I said, even Substack, because they have a comment section, they have a note section, all those types of things. They are really trying to find ways to break us up apart. And they're also trying to find a way to crush any type of mobility against the empire. That's ultimately the reality. A lot of this too, again, I don't know, would there be this strong push for this? If there wasn't, October 7th, I feel like a lot of this is to push back on the Israel criticism as well. So Not TikTok. Discord now has a new CEO. I believe that was announced last year. He is based in Israel. I mean, I don't know how much to say it. I believe he is Arab Christian. Haman is his name. He's Arab Christian, but he's based in Israel. So I don't know what else to tell you guys other than this. This is probably one of the most important issues of our time. They are trying to find different ways to silence our voices, and every single person with the platform should be talking about this. And it is really concerning to me, like Taylor Lorenz said it on Twitter the other night. It's really concerning to me the number of people with massive platforms that aren't saying anything about this at all. And eventually what will end up happening is, let's say they go through with this, then all of a sudden everyone will want to talk about it because they're being impacted. I think some people don't want to talk about it because it implicates Dems and Republicans, and some people don't want to criticize the Democratic Party too much. I think some people aren't talking about it because they hear break up big tech and they think, oh yeah, we should approve this without looking at the details. So please share this with everyone and let them know that what you see happening with Discord can happen to any other platform. Let's go into some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Shout out to Megan for becoming a Sabby member. Give Megan a big whoop whoop in the house. Shout out to Mark. Thank you for the super chat. Somebody told me the Patriots are owned by Zios. I think that's all of the teams, unfortunately. I'm going to get into him in a minute. So, Whoop says, my wife was wondering why I watched this podcast, so I invited her to watch with me. She's now a fan. Oh, thank you and welcome. Thank you for the super chat. Mick of Malice. They can repeal the Children's Television Act of 1990, FTC Improvement Acts of 1980, 84, decision to eliminate time limits. I see somebody is on it. Thank you, Roger, for the super chat. I used to say upscrolled is not good enough because they left the door open to censor. Today, I say we need a social cooperative platform, but after section. Casey says it's really feels like it's about protecting Israel. Yeah. Yes, Chuck, BDS. There you go. Thank you, Roger. With 230 in jeopardy, we need government-owned, operated SM, social media. I don't know if it should be government, because the government wants to silence you. So I don't know if the government should own it. I think us collectively as a people, but I don't know about the government. Thank you, Elizabeth. Just wanted to say that I appreciate your coverage and the work that you do. Thank you for all of your efforts. You are welcome. Thank you. We're moving on. It's time to roast Robert Kraft. Dun, dun, dun. All right, ladies and gents, if you haven't had a chance to do so, could you smash the like button? And we're going to keep it moving and grooving to our next story. What to expect? You know, some people, I think, probably thought I wouldn't cover the story because I'm in Massachusetts, because I follow the Patriots, and this story is about Robert Kraft. But they would be wrong, because I have a lot of criticism about Robert Kraft as well. Robert Kraft, he has decided to somehow start this effort to build this coalition, I guess, with the Black community and the Jewish community to fight back against discrimination. Now, before you say anything, because Black Twitter is already coming after him, before you say anything, I think the first time people may have noticed it was his ad during the Super Bowl. So let's start with that first. And I'll show you the sneakiness of what Robert Kraft is trying to do. First of all, huge shout out here to Chuck Modi. Chuck Modi, I really appreciate you saying this. Chuck Modi said Robert Kraft's anti-Semitism commercial is stupid, and to compare Jewish and Black experience in 2026 minimizes seismic differences between Black discrimination. He goes on to say, as a Jew, I've never feared for my safety, my physical safety around the police, except when pulled over with Black people in the same car. Shout out to Chuck Modi for keeping it real. This is the ad he's talking about.
Dude.
Did you see that? Should we tell him? So bad.
Oh, bro, look at him. Oh my gosh.
Not funny.
Do not listen to that. Thank you, man. I know how it feels. Nah, they're not worth it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Name's Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Hello.
So let's go to this part right about here.
Thank you, man.
I know how it feels.
So let's come right here, because I have some things to say. Well, first and foremost, we do not promote hate on this show at all. I'm 100% against any type of discrimination. Nobody should be discriminated against. That being said, first of all, I took issue with the fact that Robert Kraft, you had to use a black kid, and the black kid had to have an afro. You see, they had to go all out, right? You try to use a black kid, and the black kid says, I know how it feels. So here's the problem. Yes, there is discrimination, but the reality is it's not the same. Okay? There are things that black people are discriminated for that Robert Kraft's community does not have to deal with. And it was very clear to me what he was trying to do with this ad. Because why did it have to be a black kid? You see what I'm saying? This ad to me basically said that Robert Kraft is trying to tell you the experience is the same, and I'm here to let you know it is not. You see, I live in Massachusetts. I live in the Boston area in Massachusetts. And I'll be the first to let you know that if Robert Kraft cares so much about what is happening to black communities here, Robert Kraft should take the time and maybe take, I don't know, some of his billions and go into these black communities that are constantly being gentrified, where people are losing their housing. I talked about this in my documentary. Why doesn't Robert Kraft take some of his billions and stop these things from happening? Because see, at the end of the day, Robert Kraft, he wants you to coalesce with him and fight for his cause. But at the same time, Robert Kraft, he don't want you to have it too good, because he don't want you to come up and move into his community. And this is the part that he won't say. So I'm going to say it for him. Robert Kraft has a house in Chestnut Hill, right here in Massachusetts. It's a village that is a part of Newton. Newton is one of the wealthiest cities in Massachusetts. It's right outside of Boston. I never see Robert Kraft's ass in Roxbury. I never see him in Dorchester. I don't never hear about him being in Mattapan. His son was only in those areas recently because he was trying to run for mayor. He ended up dropping out of that race. Robert Kraft lives in Newton, which is right next to Boston. You can literally drive down Comm Ave and Newton is right there. So where is that presence from Robert Kraft? He also has a residence in Brookline too. This guy's a billionaire. He's freaking loaded. I also notice he has to keep it at discrimination. Because yes, there were things done to both groups. But I notice he can't go farther, because if he goes further, it exposes some things. He can't get into the economics of it, because he gets into the economics of it, it exposes that one group got repair and another one did not. Black Americans are on track to have a net worth of $0 in 2050. Zero. Robert Kraft's community is not on track to have zero. Where was Robert Kraft when the report was released that the average white family in Boston has a net worth of $250,000 and the average Black family has a net worth of $8? Where was Robert Kraft? Why isn't he talking about that if he cares so much about the Black community here? So Black Twitter is having a field day. I'm telling you right now, the comments are wild, but they are having a field day because they're saying, how dare you try to sit here and say that our struggle and our pain is the same. It is not. Our experience is not the same. So for you to even sit up there and try to compare the two, it's ridiculous. We know what this is really about. This is really about Israel. Robert Kraft ain't had much or nothing to say about this until after October 7th. And what they're ultimately trying to do, he knows that America has declined in its support for Israel. Robert Kraft knows that people are not supporting Israel the way that they used to. That's really what this is about. And of all the groups in the United States, he decides, let's get the Blacks. Let's grab them. We have same struggle. We have same pain. No, we don't. Now I'm going to show you something else that he's doing. Because see, we're not stupid. Here he is here. Let's look at what's happening at the university campuses. Check out what Robert Kraft is doing. Again, oh, and by the way, Robert, considering that we just got our asses beat on Sunday, you should probably focus on that. I don't know. Like considering the fact that we got our asses handed to us by the Seattle Seahawks, maybe you should just concentrate on football. This is what he says here.
Kraft's personal mission is to make people aware of hatred toward Jews and others around the world.
I see these things everywhere.
His office scans the internet on this giant screen, searching for signs of anti-Semitism online.
So, searching for signs that impact his community. That's where his focus is at. And now he has started this coalition within the university. So I'm warning you to let you guys know what's happening in the colleges. He started this coalition within the universities to build this type of community with Black students and with Jewish students over discrimination. But look at what he is tracking. He is prioritizing and he is looking out for what is happening to his community. So he basically wants you to come in and advocate for his community. Where is the reverse? Let's continue.
Of anti-Semitism online.
I hate you because we're from different neighborhoods.
I hate you because you look different.
He aired commercials during the Super Bowl. Kraft's vision is to make the Blue Square campaign reach as many people as possible.
We can look at a particular university campus and see what's happening there. And we can isolate that and know how hate is being spread on that campus so we can provide that intelligence to the administration of that campus.
Then there's the story about the rapper from a hardscrabble neighborhood in North Philadelphia. Meek Mill was in a Pennsylvania prison when he reached out to Kraft.
I asked him when we got on the phone, I'm like, you should come see this. You should come see how it is.
I've never been to a jail.
First time.
First time, and it was an amazing experience. It actually changed my life going to it.
After
Then they do stuff like this, right? Look at me. I'm being a good billionaire. I'm going to a prison because Meek Mill is telling me about his story. And so then people see the headlines and they see, well, Robert Kraft reached out and helped Meek Mill and da-da-da. And this is how they get you. And this is the point I've been trying to get across to people. At the end of the day, why is he being so nice to Meek Mill? What does he want in return? Do you think that Meek Mill's going to turn around and say free Palestine after all of this? No. This idea that the amount of, you want to compare the two with Israel and Gaza, the amount of Islamophobia that we've seen is greater than the anti-Semitism in the United States. And Robert Kraft knows that. And they keep trying to change the definition to basically now get to the point that, well, if you criticize Israel, then that's also anti-Semitic. They're trying to basically make it so that you can't critique Israel at all. Let's continue.
Mill was sent back to jail for a probation violation. Kraft paid him a visit because he thought the sentence was excessive.
Do you think the Reform Alliance can help a lot of people?
It's helping a lot of people because it's cutting probation for a lot of people who don't deserve to be on probation.
The two went on to help launch the Reform Alliance, targeting the probation and parole system in America.
Again, and what is the benefit in return for Robert Kraft? What do you need to do in return? Look at the people on the stage, folks. You got Jay-Z up there, Meek Mill, there's Van Jones. These are pro-Israel people. These are a bunch of Zionists. So no billionaire, and I've told you this before, no billionaire is going to come to you and say, hey, I just want to help you out. See you having a tough time. They want something in return.
When he spoke up about me, it added value in rooms that people couldn't really hear, because you see the newspapers say Meek Mill got locked up for a probation violation. You see that, oh, he did bad, lock him up. But they ain't saying probation violation. I'm riding a motorcycle and yeah, I popped the wheelie.
What I hear you saying is that you wanted to give people a second chance.
Well, a second chance or also a first opportunity. I know how I grew up and the opportunities available to me as a young man in a solid family. I want America to stay vibrant and good.
And good. Well, if you want that, then you wouldn't be exploiting people, right? If you really want America and Americans to have the same opportunities that you had, then you wouldn't be a billionaire right now, because you became a billionaire because you were exploiting workers. That's how you got into that spot. So miss me with all of that. When we talk about the universities, I want you to see what they're doing here. People, you guys are going to cringe about this. Again, shout out to Chris Minahan. He's been on it. Robert Kraft's Blue Square Alliance charity built a command center inside the Patriot Stadium that's tracking hate speech online, critical of Israel. See, Jews, Zionism in real time. This is what I was telling you guys. This is about Israel. The intelligence they gather is sent to university administrators. So this is the type of money that Robert Kraft has. And who promotes this? Of course, Zionist-owned CBS News by Barry Weiss.
Inside the Patriot Stadium, a command center of stats tracking hate speech online. It shows where it's coming from, the time of day, and how it's trending, especially among younger people.
We saw that not only is hate and anti-Semitism growing across the country, it's disproportionately grown on college campuses and in high schools.
Which is, so again, that includes criticizing Israel. So you have to understand that when they're combing through the social media, again, this goes back to the whole Section 230 repeal thing and the AI surveillance. When they're combing through social media, they are combing through it to look for criticism of Israel, and they are also counting that as anti-Semitic as well. People have to really understand this. So if you're including criticism of Israel, of course the numbers are going to be higher. That part they don't mention.
Part of the reason Kraft says he partnered with the United Negro College Fund and the Jewish organization Hillel International to host unity dinners throughout the country.
So let's get to it.
Baruch College students Aiden Herzlinger and Akish L. are among the more than 450 students who've attended at least one of the dinners.
What do you talk about at these dinners?
The dinners are about finding commonalities between the Black community and the Jewish community. So we really.
So this, and it irks my skin. It really does. So let's be clear here. You literally have a nation that is committing genocide. And Robert Kraft is building this organization where he wants Black students to align with the Jewish students, but also to be pro-Israel. How does that make any damn sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. The Palestinians are the oppressed people. They're the occupied people. This is seriously, guys, they've gotten into the colleges. And this is what I was afraid of. We cannot let this happen. And to Black people watching, please educate your children about this. This makes absolutely no sense. From everything that Black Americans have gone through in this country, we should not be put in that position to align with an organization that is supporting genocide, apartheid, and occupation. And that is essentially what is happening here. Let's continue. Jesus Christ.
Talk about anything and everything. It's not just about politics and opinions. It's about treating each other as humans.
We mainly talked about our families, why we have communities, and how our communities are similar more than different.
Why?
No, they're not. Like, I don't know what to say about this. This is driving me crazy. And I swear to God, you guys, I'm not trying to be mean. And for people come for me, I got friends of all different races, all different nationalities, different religions. The communities are not similar. They're not. Go to any, especially right here, go to the Black communities here, and then go to Roxbury, then go to Brookline. And you tell me if the communities are similar. They're not. One is losing wealth. One is being heavily gentrified. The other one has found ways to sustain that type of wealth. One got repair, the other group did not. They're not similar. We cannot sit up here and continue to perpetuate this type of lie and propaganda. You guys got to really understand. The guy sitting next to the Black kid here, he doesn't have to worry about being pulled over by the police. The Black kid does. He doesn't have to worry about losing or having this loss of generational wealth. The Black kid does. He doesn't have to worry about attending the schools that are under-resourced. If you're living in the Black community here, you do. The schools in Roxbury and Dorchester are under-resourced. So as I said before, to Robert Kraft, if you care so much about the Black community, why don't you ever take your billions and invest in those Black neighborhoods that your son just tried to win over as mayor? Right now, Robert Kraft is trying to build another freaking stadium, as if him owning the New England Patriots and owning the New England Revolution, the soccer team, as if that's not enough. He wants to build another stadium in Everett, Massachusetts, a working class community, which would cause more displacement. You guys really think Robert Kraft give a damn about the Black community? He cares about his pockets. These are the problems that we run into.
Why Jewish students with Black students?
Because historically we had that connection. It's a connection that's gotten a lot done. And I think we can continue to get a lot done if we come together.
And when you heard those students talk about the history of Blacks and Jews working together, consider this. In June of 1964, 3 college students fighting for civil rights in Mississippi were murdered by the Ku Klux Klan with law enforcement. Those activists were James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner.
There were other white people who were beaten and murdered during the civil rights movement. Do you see? This is what has become of CBS News now that it is owned by Barry Weiss. You see the problem?
Cheney, a black man, Goodman and Schwerner, Jewish. Right now, we know those bonds have been challenged by a war in which more than 1,200 people have been killed in Israel and over 70,000 in Gaza. But you guys, overwhelmingly, his message he's saying is we shouldn't tolerate it for anyone. You know, whether you're Jewish, whether you're black, whether you're Latino, whether you're Asian, it shouldn't matter. People should be standing up to ignorance and hate.
Right.
But why? And see, and this is where I see this is what it is really about. Because it's not about that. It's not about people standing up to ignorance and hate. It's about people standing on the side that is pro-Israel. That's really what this is about. Because let me ask you a question. Where are these allies going to be when black people stand up to these things and the cops are called and the black person is arrested? Where's the allies? What happens then? Right? Because what they're ultimately telling you is that instead of standing up, notice she didn't say Muslim, she didn't say Arabic, she didn't name that group of people. So if it's really about standing up for people, notice who she left out and notice who she included. What they're ultimately trying to do is they're trying to push this propaganda that black people need to get on the pro-Israel side. And often during the civil rights movement, if you look this up, some of the activists that were involved in that were pro-Israel or were Zionists. And some would argue back then Zionism meant something a little bit different. I don't know. What we do know is that you cannot say that your harm is the same as the black community when you have been able to get repair, when you have been able, you can drive down the street in your car, and if the cops stop you, you don't have to fear for your life. We do not have the same type of experience. And for Robert Kraft to sit up there and push this bullshit on CBS News and the ad with the Super Bowl, it's ridiculous. He knows better. Now, if he cares so much about standing up for people, because I want to show you something, pull this up. You can follow this account, Americans for Nonprofit Transparency. When we look at the donors who donated to Donald Trump's campaign, here's Robert Kraft. He's one of the biggest donors to Donald Trump's campaign. He donated over $200,000. So if Robert Kraft cares so much about standing up and fighting for everybody and those who are oppressed, why is it that you don't hear Robert Kraft say anything or criticize Donald Trump when he chooses to shit on those groups? That's how you know it's bullshit. Black Twitter ate him up. They really, I said, oh. So what to expect from this? This group that Robert Kraft has started, he has put this into the colleges and they're trying to expand this all across the country. They're basically trying to get black people to get back in line and be pro-Israel again. That's really what this is about. It's really what this is about. Instead of us looking at them and saying, nah, man, you need to check Israel. That's you need to check Israel and the actions that are being done by Netanyahu, the Likud party, and all the racism that is coming from Israelis in Israel. That's the reality. That's what needs to happen. I almost wanted to throw up. Like literally. Like I saw that ad and I really wanted to just puke. Because it's not the same. And if you don't hear that from any other left commentator, I'm sorry, but you can say you heard it here. I'll be the first to say it's not the same. Period. Let's go to the comments, ladies and gents. Hey. Nene said disrespectful. Topher said, I saw this and said, give me a break out loud in front of my whole family. Exactly. Thank you, Brad. Apparently, 2/3 of J teens need to wake up to Zionism. Avonda said, they are simply using my people. That part's. Shout out to Jazina says, Sabby, love. Jazina's been a member for 5 months. Let's give them a big whoop, whoop. Thank you, Roger. One group has ownership of industries, banks, media, and entertainment in all its forms, real estate, sports teams, politics, and the other doesn't. Not the same. Thank you, Cloudness. Is not real, said Black Americans' youth were a threat. Thank you, Jazina. Last hired, first fired, well-known reality. Thank you, Roger. Sab, he not trying to build, but rebuild what was lost. Remember, our parents and grandparents' generation were in solidarity with Israel, including MLK, Rustin, and Randolph. Yep, that's what I was saying. Thank you, What Democracy. Boston University hosted an IOF soldier at the Howard Thurman Center last week. A building named after a civil rights leader, appalling. That's absolutely disgusting. See what I'm talking about? Thank you, Roger. The new generation of X millennials and Z is a new crop of Black folk. Thank you, Rise. It's not equal. They don't have to pay interest on loans, yet Black people pay more interest than anyone. Much love. Thank you for that. All right. Let's keep it moving and grooving with what to expect. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. There has been a lot of back and forth online ever since it was revealed that Noam Chomsky had this relationship with Jeffrey Epstein in the files. It wasn't the first time that this was announced, but for some, it was their first time hearing it. And since we got access to these files, we were able to get more information. And it wasn't good, right? It's just, we know it wasn't good. Well, since then, Noam Chomsky's wife issued a statement about the relationship that they had with Jeffrey Epstein, I guess to clear the air. And Chris Hedges issued a response. And I think you guys need to see this. Noam Chomsky's wife apologizes for grave mistake in the Epstein ties. Let's go on here. Valerie Chomsky says Epstein had deceived them and they were careless not to thoroughly research his background. Okay, guys, brace yourself for this one. Let's go on to see what her message said here. I've watched the horrible way you are being treated. Oh, let me go back up here. Sorry. The relationship between Noam Chomsky and Epstein has been under scrutiny. Epstein came under scrutiny for sex trafficking allegations in 2019, and he did ask Chomsky for advice on how to respond. I've watched the horrible way you are being treated in the press and the media. It's painful to say, but I think the best way to proceed is to ignore it, Chomsky wrote in a message signed Noam. What the vultures dearly want is a public response, which then provides a public opening for an onslaught of venomous attacks, many from just publicity seekers or cranks of all sorts. Chomsky wrote in the message. That's particularly true now with the hysteria that has developed about abuse of women, which has reached the point that even questioning a charge is a crime worse than murder. Chomsky is one of several prominent people who were revealed to be friendly with Epstein after his 2008 guilty plea. So let's go on and show you what his wife said here. We were careless in not thoroughly researching his background. This was a grave mistake. And for that lapse in judgment, I apologize on behalf of both of us. Noam shared with me before his stroke that he felt the same way. It was deeply disturbing for both of us to realize we had engaged with someone who was presented as a helpful friend, but led a hidden life of criminal, inhumane, and perverted acts. She said Chomsky's 2019 advice to Epstein on rehabilitating his image should be understood in context. Epstein had claimed to Noam that he was being unfairly persecuted. And Noam spoke from his own experience in political controversies with the media. Epstein created a manipulative narrative about his case, which Noam in good faith believed in. It is now clear that it was all orchestrated, having us at least one of Epstein's intentions to try to have someone like Noam repairing Epstein's reputation by association. Noam's criticism was never directed at the women's movement. On the contrary, he has always supported gender equity and women's rights. What happened was that Epstein took advantage of Noam's public criticism towards what came to be known as canceling culture to present himself as a victim of it. So leftists, the left and progressive community is really struggling with this one. Now, when it was revealed a couple years ago that Noam Chomsky was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, I covered that on the show. At that time, Noam Chomsky's response was that he doesn't have to tell you who he's hanging out with or whatever. We're not really sure how well he was doing at that time. But it was very apparent to me that many people still didn't know about this until this recent drop in the Epstein files. Now, there has been this back and forth online with Aaron Mate and other people. Aaron apparently said, that he will never cancel Noam Chomsky, and that, at first he didn't realize what was said there. He said you can criticize, but he's not going to cancel him. People are really mad. Like, if you look at the comments, I don't know if all of you are on X, but people are really upset. And it's ultimately very revealing to me that I think a number of people are disappointed. And it happens, right? I think that some people looked up to Noam Chomsky. Some even said online they saw him as a hero. I think that's a big mistake. I tell you on the show that your heroes are the people that are in your community. The hero is you in the mirror. It's not these academics. It's not celebrities. It's not politicians. These people, everybody will let you down at some point or another. But ultimately, you have to believe that the power is within yourself. So if you don't have that trust and that energy with yourself, I think you can look at someone like a Noam Chomsky and you can start to see yourself within that person. And I think that's part of what is going on. But ultimately, Eric texted me last night about this. And Eric and I, we feel that this is a class issue as well. And I want to get into that in just a second. So after that letter from Noam Chomsky's wife, I want to show you what Chris Hedges said. Chris Hedges, also an academic, also someone who was friends with Noam Chomsky. His response was different. And I think you need to hear it. We're going to play the audio version of this.
Noam Chomsky, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Politics of Betrayal. Written by Chris Hedges for the Chris Hedges Report, chrishedges.substack.com. Read by Eunice Wong. I don't expect much from politicians, corporate tycoons, the presidents of prestigious universities, billionaire philanthropists, celebrities, royalty, or oligarchs. They live in narcissistic and hedonistic bubbles that cater to their self-worship and moral depravity. But I do expect a lot from intellectuals such as Noam Chomsky. The explanation by his wife, Valeria, Noam suffered a severe stroke in June 2023 and is incapacitated, of their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is filled with the fatuous excuses used by all those who have been outed in the Epstein emails and documents. According to Valeria, she and Noam were overly trusting. This led to poor judgment. She writes that she and Noam were ensnared by dinners with luminaries at Epstein's mansion, flights on his private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, a literary reference that Noam would have recognized, financial assistance, trips to Epstein's ranch, and the use of one of Epstein's apartments in New York. Like everyone else outed in the Epstein files, she and Noam never witnessed any inappropriate behavior from Epstein or others. Noam's advice to Epstein on how to handle press inquiries into his crimes like Noam's letter of recommendation for Epstein, was, she insists, the result of Epstein's taking advantage of Noam's public criticism towards what came to be known as cancel culture to present himself as a victim of it. After Epstein's second arrest in 2019, she and Noam were careless in not thoroughly researching his background. She ends by expressing unrestricted solidarity with the victims. Her letter regurgitates the formula of everyone outed in the Epstein files. I know and have long admired Noam. He is arguably our greatest and most principled intellectual. I can assure you he is not as passive or gullible as his wife claims. He knew about Epstein's abuse of children. They all knew.
I don't think that this was something that was easy for Chris Hedges to write. In fact, if I were to imagine, some people are upset with Chris Hedges after this article and his Substack. They've been coming after him online as well. But I would have to imagine this probably was not an easy thing for him to do. But according to Chris Hedges, he said that they did know. He said they all knew who he was and what he was about. Let's go on a little bit more here.
And like others in the Epstein orbit, he did not care. From the email correspondence between Epstein and Valeria, it appears she particularly enjoyed the privileges that came with being in Epstein's circle. But this doesn't absolve Noam's acquiescence. Noam, of all people, knows the predatory nature of the ruling class and the cruelty of capitalists, where the vulnerable, especially girls and women, are commodified as objects to be used and exploited. He wasn't fooled by Epstein. He was seduced. His association with Epstein is a terrible and, to many, unforgivable stain. It irreparably tarnishes his legacy. If there is a lesson here, it is this. The ruling class offers nothing without expecting something in return. The closer you get to these vampires, the more you become enslaved. Our role is not to socialize with them. It is to destroy them.
Woo!
That was Noam Chomsky, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Politics of Betrayal.
Well. I think I pronounced her name wrong, Valerie. I always want to say Valerie. So that was the article from Chris Hedges, his response to Valeria's statement about Noam Chomsky's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And going into this, when I started covering this latest drop of files, I warned everybody, if you got any heroes or idols, put that aside. Because it's a lot going on up in those files, and you never know who's going to be in there, and you may become, disappointed, etc. But, Eric texted me this last night about this being a class issue, and I really got to thinking. I was, part of me got angry when I was seeing some of the tweets. I still call them tweets. Sorry, I was seeing some of those tweets. It seemed like to me that some people were fighting harder for Noam Chomsky than they were for the victims. I saw people who haven't said one word about Epstein victims all of a sudden had a lot to say about their defense for Noam Chomsky. And I think that said something to me. The class issue, there seems to be this idea that if someone is an academic, if someone is, higher up there in the class like spectrum or whatever, but let's focus on the academics here for just a second because I worked in that space. There seems to be this facade that if someone is an academic, they can't do anything wrong. I saw it when I worked at MIT. I saw it when I worked at Boston University. I saw it when I worked at Harvard. And this isn't something that is just on the left or the right or whatever. It's not just something that's within the YouTube political space. I saw these things in person via my job. And I think sometimes it's like if someone tends to be a part of a certain class, especially in the academia spaces, these faculty members that are teaching at these prestigious universities. Noam Chomsky he taught at MIT. You get to keep your office at MIT as faculty, by the way. If you're emeritus, you still get to keep it there. And especially the ones that come from MIT, it just seems to be this idea that this is a brilliant mind. How dare you question what they've said or what they've done? And it's almost as if, like, if you're part of the lower class, that you should be thankful and grateful that someone who is in this class above you, this great intellectual mind, is sharing with you freely what they've discovered and what they've learned. I appreciate Noam Chomsky's work about manufacturing, consent. I think that woke a lot of people up, right? But that doesn't mean that he can't be wrong. That doesn't mean that he can't be criticized. And what was worrisome to me is that I saw people online acting in such a way that, because this is the great Noam Chomsky, how dare you critique or criticize him? And no one is immune to criticism. That's something I'll tell you on this show. So that worried me. And I am seeing people double down. And it's just, I don't know what's going on with Aaron. But Aaron said that he would never cancel him. He I guess looked up to him, went to this whole spiel and things like that. Okay, and it is what it is. But it was just like almost as if you can't separate their past work from behavior. So you can criticize and take issue with his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That doesn't mean that you didn't learn something from manufacturing consent. Does that make sense? And I feel like people just can't separate the two. It's like they feel like they lost their hero. They lost and again, these heroes and idols, you got to toss that aside. There's too many people, I think, looking up to people that it's just, at the end of the day, Noam Chomsky is human just like everybody else. Do I think it was good for him to have this relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? No. Do I believe Valerie's letter, everything that she said? No. Because one of the things that was mentioned was that 2015, they weren't aware of Epstein's crimes or whatever. I was aware of Epstein's crimes in 2015. It was on the media. And as you'll see further on, we're going to show you more information here that supports my claim about that. One of the other things that was mentioned in 2017, this wasn't just like a working relationship, because again, like I said, these files are revealing a lot of things. One of the emails that's in the file says, "Dear Jeffrey, we count you as our best friend. I mean, the one. It is always great to see you. Valeria." So this is not just someone that was an acquaintance or someone they were friendly with. According to this email, a best friend. And then you can point fingers towards Woody Allen as well. Okay, let's say he did not know anything about Epstein's crimes, which again, I just find hard to believe because like I said, in 2015, I saw it on the news myself. But you knew about Woody Allen. Also predatory. That's why I said, don't build these people up as heroes. Counterpunch sent this to me as well. I wanted to include this. I think this is a good thing to add. The simplest explanation is that Epstein worked hard to manipulate and befriend Chomsky and his wife by offering them financial services, and at one point, offering them a place to live. Meanwhile, Chomsky was particularly vulnerable to such offers because he found himself in a highly distressing family dispute over money, a dispute that the 89-year-old described as the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So obviously, this is something that Jeffrey Epstein took advantage of, right? But what Counterpunch pointed out here was that apparently, allegedly, Epstein offered Chomsky and his wife financial services and at one point offered them a place to live. And this is the first that I had heard about that. right? So you, again, like I said, Epstein seemed to find people that were in like these compromising positions, and I can come in and help you. He did that with some of the victims too, right? Like, I'll pay for your schooling if you do this, that type of stuff. I'll take you out of that environment. Another person sent me this, and I didn't realize this, but this is something else that I think needs to be a part of this discussion. This goes back to 2016. Noam Chomsky on Trump's rise and why he's not sure Bernie Sanders is right about breaking up the banks. See, I didn't catch this at that point in time, but this was during an interview. And I want to show you what he said here. Objectively, poverty and suffering were far greater, but even among working people and unemployed, there was a sense of hope that is lacking now, in large part because of the growth of a militant labor movement and also the existence of political organizations outside the mainstream. Of course, another way of putting it would be that Trump himself has created a political movement that is outside the mainstream and is giving people hope that they can make America great again. The other fun moment in the interview is when Chomsky declines to endorse Bernie Sanders' proposal to break up major Wall Street banks. The consequences should be carefully explored, Chomsky says. I haven't done so. So I did not know about that. And that's on me. But I think that says something. Guess I just wasn't paying attention enough. So that part there is interesting. Something else that Max Blumenthal pointed out here, Chomsky was mid-gesture mixing with Ehud Barak. It doesn't make sense for a left critic of power to line with an Israeli genocide gooner and get mogged by Davos Moids, escorted by teen Foids on Epstein Island. So this is something that Max Blumenthal was pointing out. Noam Chomsky here with Ehud Barak, who is absolutely despicable. Not just from the victim, Virginia Giuffre's perspective, which she talked a lot about Ehud Barak in her book. And she said that he was one of the most violent ones, that he viciously attacked her. But she went on to say about him that she was afraid that she was not going to survive. That's how violent he was towards Virginia Giuffre. But it's not even just that. This is someone who was very, 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 and still is very, very genocidal, even in the rhetoric. And then I saw this picture again. I didn't know these things. I saw this picture and I thought to myself, you know, I remember when Chomsky said he didn't support BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. And I don't know, I just started thinking about some things. And then I saw this on Bad Faith Podcast. You guys should watch this interview when you have some time. This is Bree talking to Alan McLeod. He's talking about this relationship with Epstein and Chomsky as well.
Right up until his arrest and a death in prison, Chomsky was actually advising Epstein, being like an unofficial crisis manager. He was sympathizing with Epstein, talking about, this is a quote, the horrible way you're being treated in the press and public. On multiple occasions, Chomsky expressed his desire to visit Little St. James Island, which is, of course, the site of Epstein's most infamous sex crimes. We know Chomsky flew on the Lolita Express at least once, and that flight was actually from Boston to New York to attend a soiree with Epstein and Woody Allen. And Epstein, in the emails, calls his jaunts with Woody Allen a pedophile convention. That's a specific quote. Chomsky met with a host of other highly questionable figures, thanks to Epstein, including Steve Bannon, Woody Allen, as I said, Ehud Barak. Chomsky considered Epstein a dear friend and his closest financial, legal, and sometimes even moral advisor. He regularly exchanged gifts with Epstein. And one of the saddest things that really came out of reading these emails, which really show just how deep this friendship is that, you know, quite frankly, Epstein might have been Chomsky's closest friend in the 2010s. His relationship with his children actually broke apart mostly because of their protests over his attempts to name Jeffrey Epstein's accountant and right-hand man to the board of his family's trust, which oversees the Chomsky's fortune that he's built up from all the book sales, etc., and that the family go through. Epstein is advising Noam to cut his children off from the funds, and it seems that some of the last emails suggest that Noam went with Epstein's advice. Another thing that comes out, which people haven't been talking about, is how Noam really comes across as someone like a very sort of reactionary figure in some of his beliefs. Publicly, he's this great anarchist intellectual, but privately, if you read his emails to Jeffrey Epstein, he comes across as this sort of anti-feminist guy that's very similar to the sort of speeches that Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro give. He described Me Too and the modern feminist movement as, and I'm quoting here, hysteria that has developed about abuse of women, which has reached the point that even questioning a charge is a crime worse than murder. He called feminists asking questions about Lawrence Krauss and Jeffrey Epstein. He called them, he likened them to Nazis. So he said that, our culture is unfortunately swept by craziness. Nazism is a good example of this, or the Great Awakening. We're in one of those phases now, he says. If there's a charge, it's true. In fact, it's true. Any response is mansplaining, quote unquote. Another power play reinforcing the charge. You've seen what happened to Lawrence Krauss. Full and complete response amounts to zero. It isn't even considered. It's like trying to discuss rationality with religious fanatics. So, Noam has this public persona, but in private, he is defending the world's most notorious sex criminal.
Watch that full interview when you get a chance. It's on Bad Faith podcast. That was a really good one there. And there's another one that she did. I think his name is Gabriel. I can't remember his last name. That's also on Bad Faith. And that guy, he talked about how some of these spaces have been captured to basically make an ineffective left. And I thought that was a very good discussion. Definitely check that out as well. Miss Sparkle said, I'm speechless, Sabby. Yeah. Guys, when these things happen, it can be very, I think people are disappointed. I think a number of people are shocked, surprised. And, I went through, I have a string here. It's going to bother me. Okay, it's gone. I went through a number of those files. And as I was going through them, I said to myself that I'm gonna have to tell people, if you got any heroes or idols, you need to put that aside going into those files. And there's more information that I'm seeing every day. And so, a lot of times I say on this show, we don't really know these people. Well, in this case, I mean, there were people who did know Noam, right? Like Chris Hedges knew him, and, Aaron Mate knew him. I guess sometimes even if you do know people, you may not know, everything like about them or what's going on and all these types of things. Noam Chomsky is not in a position where, he can do interviews from what I understand. But I think it definitely could not have been easy for Chris Hedges to write what he wrote. And I think that he is one that really understands the class dynamic of things a lot. The first time he came on the show, that's what we were talking about. And I don't know, like I felt that energy. I felt that energy online, like the people who were saying, no, this isn't right, and criticizing Noam. It almost kind of came across as though the response seemed to be, you should just shrug it off and accept it or whatever, because this is one of the greatest minds of our time. And that made me feel some type of way. And that's why I say I feel like this is a class issue, where it's like us little working class folk, I guess we should just be happy that he shared the information with us that he did. And I don't believe that anybody is above criticism. I think that there's always room for improvement. And I am one of those people that is very supportive about feedback as well. And I think that we have to be very careful if we get to a point where we just I love this person, so no one can criticize them. We have to be careful about that. And two, when you say what to expect, what I expected from this latest dump of Epstein files was to hear more people, rage and anger about the victims and the abuse that happened and what these women went through. What I didn't expect was for people who have said absolutely nothing about the victims to go so hardcore defense for Noam Chomsky. That is very weird to me. And I think we have a lot of work to do as a society. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Eric, we can go to part 2 of Tight V and C. Thank you. Thank you for the super sticker. I'm Tula Peace. Thank you. Thank you, Measured Men. She caught me on the counter. It wasn't me. She caught me in the shower. It wasn't me. I'm just saying. That was Shaggy. Thank you, Unemployed Scholar. Uhuru movement said white people withdrew support from Black Revolution in 1960s. Interesting. Thank you, Emily. Love your show. Thank you. Vijaya said, I'm surprised at Aaron's reaction. Yeah, I kind of was too. I don't know what's going on there, folks. Eric said, elitism in play. Thank you, Wandy. Noam Chomsky married Valeria Wasserman in 2014. Siri. Thank you, Wandy. Wandy's been a member for 7 months. Let's give them a shout out there. Thank you, Ethan. I ran against Massey as a socialist in 2022. Received 4% of the vote. I hate his economics, despite his support of the conditions of Kentucky prisons. But big kudos for getting the files released. Peace. Thank you, RM. I thought Bernie was my hero. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, I thought Obama was my hero too. I just think we're looking to the wrong people for that type of thing. We really need to look within our community. And thank you for the super sticker, anything but the norm. Thank you. We are keeping it moving and grooving, ladies and gentlemen. Again, tonight's theme is what to expect. We have a quick mutual aid request announcement here, ladies and gents. Let's go ahead and shout this out. Help disabled person with school. So this came my way. He is asking for donations here. Let's go ahead and get in. I'm facing eviction as I have been unable to work due to a lost limb. I'm asking for help with back rent and help to take online class so that I can get back to doing for myself. I'm able to work, but I have no experience working from a desk, no relative skills to get employed, as I have always worked on my feet outside of offices. Thank you to anyone who is able to assist. You guys can read the rest of his story here. Rondell Clarkson said this is an emergency. You can see a picture of him here. So if you could donate to his mutual aid request, let's go ahead and share the link to the spot fund here. Please feel free to do so. I'm sharing that link there in the chat. You guys know mutual aid is something that we heavily do and we promote over here. So help him out if you can. We've all been in situations. Yes, we have. All right, we are moving on to the next story, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the farmer story. This guy, John Boyd, I've seen him on the news multiple times throughout the years, and it seems like he's still not getting what he's asking for, regardless of the party. He spoke out during the Biden administration. He's speaking out now during the Trump administration, and he did vote for Kamala Harris. For those who are wondering, I think some people assume that he's conservative because he has on a cowboy hat. I don't know what that's about, but he is a farmer. But he did vote for Kamala Harris. He's speaking out now about the funds that they were supposed to receive, the Black farmers were supposed to receive. And he also talked about this under Biden as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. Just another way to show you how these parties are more alike than we think.
The president went down to Iowa last week and said, I just gave farmers $12 billion. I want to tell all of the viewers that are watching this, the farmers have not received a dime of the $12 billion. And that's what the president does. He says things and there's really no accountability. When I tried to attend the president's farm meeting that he had several weeks ago at the White House, there wasn't one Black farmer at the table. As a matter of fact, there wasn't one Black person in the room. And they told me I couldn't attend the White House meeting, something about they were moving away from DEI. I'm talking to you from my farm. There's there's no DEI on my farm. You know, my cattle eat the same amount of hay. My tractor burns the same amount of diesel fuel, and I have to be able to produce a crop here just like everybody else.
I'm sorry, what? There was a farm meeting at the White House. You tried to go. Were you there physically? Did they turn you away at the door? Or what happened?
The farm community is a very small community. So people were telling me that there was going to be a farm meeting. And I reached out to the White House to attend, and that's the feedback that they got. In fact, they said they were moving away from the black farmer issue. They were moving away from DEI and the small farmer issue. And they were focusing on large-scale white farmers and corporate farmers because they produce the most food, is what.
Okay, so let's pause here because let's get back to something here, and I'll continue on with who produces the most food. Let's get back to the point that the money that was supposed to be given to them, they did not receive. And why does this continue to happen, right? Like I said, I have seen John Boyd on numerous shows. I've seen him talking about this for years, that black farmers in the United States, they're not getting the same amount of funds when you compare it to white farmers. He's now saying under the Trump administration that they're saying, well, the other farmers are producing more food. I see this also as, I don't know, it's a chicken egg issue because it's kind of like you need the resources and the tools to be able to produce more food, but that costs money. But it's like you need the money to get the tools to produce those foods. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like you really do need to have the money there in place. Over this DEI issue, this is wild. Like it's just like, apparently he said he was uninvited or not invited there. The black farmers, I guess, weren't let in. Like these are the kind of stories that people do need to hear about. And I feel like stories like this sometimes get lost. I do find something interesting, though. I thought it was interesting that the commentator here, she said, I'm sorry. He said, what? You couldn't come in because of what? But I thought it was interesting that she didn't mention the money, because that's something. And I think this is where the two parties, like the commentators try to point at the differences with the two parties, is like, if she's going to criticize the Trump administration, she's going to focus on the DEI thing, because if she focuses on the money thing, then she has to address the fact that the money wasn't given to him under the Biden administration either. Let's continue on.
This administration said, and they told me that they may come back in a couple of years and revisit the farmers of color issue, but right now that they were moving away from it. And where's the accountability? I'm a farmer just like anybody else. Matter of fact, I'm a pretty good farmer. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to survive under this president's horrible policies that they're putting out there.
Were there other smaller farmers there?
Not that I know of, and you guys could verify exactly who was at the table. But from what I was told, that there wasn't a black person in the room,
right,
either in the audience or at the table. And this administration keeps saying that it's not about race, it's not about color. But the president brought in South African white farmers and gave them a fast path to citizenship and going to provide them with a homestead. All these things that they've never done for a black person in this country. And they keep, this president has divided this country about a definition of race, and made race relations in our country horrible at this time. The president.
So I just want to say, I'm sorry, but I remember calling that out when the white Afrikaners came here, and some people were like, oh no, they're fleeing. They weren't fleeing anything. I told people about that, what this is really about. The Trump administration, Donald Trump in particular, when he says talking about helping America and making America great, like that, he not looking at people like John Boyd. It's very clear what he wants and who he's catering to. And honestly, he kind of showed you this already, right? Because he was already president before. And then some people started to come after John Boyd, and they were like, well, you shouldn't have voted for him. He didn't vote for Donald Trump. It's funny how people just assume he didn't vote for Donald Trump. He actually voted for Kamala Harris. I'm not sure that he still would have gotten that money, because this has been an issue for years. In fact, I want to bring this back. This was 3 years ago, just to show you, or 2 years ago, excuse me, just to show you how long he's been, advocating for this. And I think we had a date here. I forget. Oh, there it is. This is July 24th, 2023. He was complaining about this on the Griot. Now, this was under the Biden administration. Listen to this.
We wanted to address some of the concerns. We've had this conversation, but we want to go deeper. Recently, we saw that a federal judge dismissed your lawsuit about the $4 billion debt relief program for Black farmers. Essentially, that was President Biden, including a specific element of that package that was supposed to provide relief to Black farmers. He reneged on that promise. You and Attorney Crump and others filed suit, and now it's been dismissed.
So again, did you hear what she said? She said that Joe Biden reneged on that promise. So I wanted to point this out because I'm trying to show you something. When the Democratic Party chooses to ignore you and avoid you, why will the Republican Party come in and feel like they got to do something for you if the Democrats weren't even willing to do a damn thing for you? See the problem? And from what I understand, some of this goes all the way back to the Obama administration as well. This guy has been advocating for this for quite some time. So I don't know who has the money, what's going on with the money, but the money is not going to them after promises have been made. So the Democratic Party, this is why I say you guys got to take some responsibility for this, because if you're not willing to do anything, why would the next party feel they have to do something for this group?
Where do you go next in this case?
Well, we have filed an appeal to appeal that decision in federal court. And I'm hopeful that the courts will take a deeper look at, I'm gonna use your words, a deeper look into what really happened to Black farmers. Every time that we're promised something in this country as Black people, and in this case, Black farmers, they find a way not to get us the resources that are promised to us. We were promised 120% debt relief, that's for every Black farmer who is eligible, and other farmers of color. That means 100% debt relief, 20% to pay the taxes, and Congress repealed it under the leadership of President Biden. And recently, we lost a big decision in affirmative action. Black people going backwards, we need to wake up here. We lost a big decision on affirmative action, and the president says he's going to dig deeper to come up with something from the stroke of a pen from his desk to help get around a possible on the actual debt relief measure for college tuition and all of these things. We need him to use the stroke of the pen to help get around the issues that facing America's Black farmers. And why wasn't it the same outrage when this administration went back on its word to do that? We're always...
See, this is what I will say this about John Boyd. He calls out all parties. He's letting you know that he's not there to cap for any certain party. And he's just basically saying that, like, we were promised this money, we did not get this money. And that's been happening across administrations. Now, I want to make a point. You see who they prioritize and you see who they put at the bottom of the list, because let's be clear about this, okay? Let's pretend it wasn't a group of Black farmers. Let's pretend it was Jewish American farmers. Do you think the Biden administration or the Trump administration, do you think they would have had this issue with giving them the money that they needed for these farms? I think not. But see, these same people, come time to vote, like I said, they be the first to come to your neighborhood and say, we need you to vote. You need to come out and support us because we're not the opposition. But they make all these promises to the Black community and they don't fulfill it. So as I said before, if the Democratic Party does not do anything for the Black community, why would you expect the Republican Party to come in and fill that space? And that's what I've been trying to get people to understand, because they look at it like this. Damn, the Democratic Party needs the Black vote in order to win, but they don't really want to do anything for you guys, but you're voting for them anyway. So why would they come in and help? That's what people got to understand. This is why I said, I think Black voters, all voters en masse, people need to register as independents. I have gone past this idea that a party is owed your vote just because. I think more people need to get past that. We're going a little bit more here. Again, this was under the Biden administration.
It's overlooked and the fixed problem in this country. and we were the nation's first black occupation here in the country for black people. So I turned my fight to the federal courts, hoping that we can get some resolve there. If not, I'm going to take my fight to the upcoming presidential election, and to let Americans know that we've been left out, and for people on the Hill telling me, boys, you got to take this one on the chin. You don't have a way out on this. I'm going to take my fight right out here to the American people and let the American people make the decision on how we were treated as voters in this country, because we voted probably 99% for President Biden. There hasn't been a sit-down meeting with the president, and there hasn't been a sit-down meeting with his ag secretary. I mean, come on, people. That's a given for a body of people who voted in a block to support this administration.
Well, and also, John Boyd, an administration and a president that said during his inauguration speech that he did owe Black America, to your point of his debt that he.
Yeah, but people say everything when they're running. But this issue I thought was really important. Again, John Boyd has been calling for the money that him and the rest of the Black farmers are owed, and there are very few in this country. And a lot of this, I think, goes back. Is another example. It goes back to Obama. And that's what I've been trying to get across to people, is like some of the conditions that you see that we are in today is because Obama made a lot of promises and did not fulfill these promises. And so then people swung all the way in the other direction. So what to expect? I would expect that John Boyd is not going to get this money under the Trump administration, just like he didn't get it under the Biden administration. That's what I expect. I'm just being honest with you, because again, they were able to get your vote without delivering the money. So why would they do anything for you if they know they don't have to when you're still going to vote for them anyway? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Something to think about. Are we going into the Epstein? We're going into the Epstein files. Okay. We are going to spend most of our time here tonight. We will do call in after the show because I'm curious to get you guys' opinion about these names that we're going to drop here and the recent developments in the Epstein files. If you haven't had a chance to do so, if you could do me a solid and smash the like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. All right, let's get into it, folks. This is the biggest story of the night, and it's going to take me some time, so get comfortable. I will say again, if it were not for Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, we do not get here. And I'll continue to say that because I didn't see anybody else in Congress trying to fight and push for justice for the Epstein victims and demanding that the DOJ unredact these names. So Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna made a statement yesterday that they went to the DOJ and said, you need to redact these 6 names. There's 6 of them. And you need to do it or we're going to announce it publicly anyway. So let's see how that went. And people are shocked and awe right now. This was the press conference right after Congress started to review the unredacted files.
It was appropriate to take them back down from the website.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner. And the other 3 or 4 have names I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
In which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government,
and some are. They're one of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files that are getting are redacted in the first place. And until that becomes unredacted, the main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review, I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law, get to the question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around? And after seeing this, I don't blame the U.S. attorneys, the assistant U.S. attorneys reviewing it. If they're reviewing redacted material, what are they supposed to do? but they're getting, it seems like, material that's already been redacted.
Yeah. So the names that, and I would argue there's still other names that need to be unredacted as well. The whole idea was that the victims would be redacted because you don't want to put them in any more danger, because not everyone in the Epstein files came forward publicly as a victim. But what they essentially did is they also redacted all the names of the abusers or potential alleged abusers as well. And people called a spade a spade. So Ro Khanna on the floor dropped those 6 names. And I'm going to tell you who some of these people are.
Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner.
So a lot of you already know Leslie Wexner. He's been discussed for quite some time. I'm going to go through these individually to explain to you who these people are in just a second, right? But here are the names if you want to see them written: Salvatore Nora, Narab Mikaladze, Lenik Linov, Nicola Caputo, Sultan Salehem, Leslie Wexner. Again, these are not all of the names. They're still protecting quite a bit of people. But it was Monday night that Thomas Massey said, fuck this. And he went on to CNN and he dropped one of the names. So he went on CNN, and this was a kind of a way, I guess, he basically pushed back against the DOJ. He went on CNN and he dropped Lex Wexner's name, who, by the way, I've been wondering for years why this dude is not in jail. Les Wexner has just been walking around freely, and that is so important because when you talk about where Epstein got his money from, that is Les Wexner. Les Wexner. He is also the one that gave Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney. A lot of these roads lead back to him. He's alive. He's living in the United States. So him of all people, his ass should have been brought to Congress a long time ago. So he dropped that last night.
An example of something, maybe it wasn't intentional on their part. I'd like to hear his take on the redaction of the CEO, who's listed as a co-conspirator in the 2019 child sex trafficking case.
So can I ask you, because, and I want to ask you if this is the same person, Todd Blanche also said about that tonight that the document you're citing there has victim names in it.
Correct.
Seeming to say that's why there are redactions. He said, we have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name already appears in the file thousands of other times. And he says the Justice Department is hiding nothing. Is that the retired CEO that you're referencing?
It is. He unredacted it after I found it. That's a problem. And I'm glad they've admitted they made a mistake by redacting that.
So you're saying it was redacted when you went in there today, and after you tweeted that, they unredacted it?
Correct. Now he's got 4 other names he needs to unredact. Did he respond to that? There's a list of 20 people. And there's 4 men in there that need to be unredacted. Here's another troubling thing that I found.
Can you say who those 4 men are tonight?
I don't think they're well known. And so if I did, it wouldn't matter, but I could probably say them on the floor of the House. But I'll give the DOJ a chance to do what they did in these 2 examples, where I've discovered something and now they've responded.
Yeah, so there's legal issues with some of this as well. Like I'll show you why also the victims didn't want to name names, because they could be sued into oblivion. It could bankrupt them. That's why they haven't just started dropping names like that. But Les Wexner, who's one of the 6 that's on that list there, we're talking about the guy who owned the Limited Group. This is the guy who owned these stores like Victoria's Secret and also the Limited. I think at one point Bath and Body Works was also a part of the Limited Group. I'm not sure if it still is anymore. But it looks like Victoria does not have a secret anymore. Maybe the Epstein trafficking was Victoria's secret. You know what I'm saying? Because the secret is out of the bag. This guy, again, billionaire, resides in Ohio. There's so much that goes into Lex Wexner that I have to do a separate video about it, because it's not just about Epstein and the island and the trafficking. It's also about Ohio State University. This guy is involved in so many different things, and there's issues there as well. So I'll have to do a separate segment on him, but this is him. That is Les Wexner, who is, last time I checked, is alive and well in the United States, just walking around very freely. He's the one that really put Epstein on the map. He's the one who gave Jeffrey Epstein money. Some said and alluded to that there was a possible, maybe allegedly, relationship between the two of them. He's the one that models came to and said Jeffrey Epstein was sexually harassing them, was approaching them. They complained to Les Wexner before that whole island even kicked off. And Les Wexner just turned the other cheek. So a lot of this goes back to this guy. You got to have some type of interest, I guess, romantically in the other person. I don't know any other man that just goes out giving another dude millions and millions of dollars just to start what type of business or whatever he wants to do with no damn strings attached. We go on more when we break down these names. Salvatore Nora. This guy, and I double checked this as well, so it's not just Grok. I looked all these up. Salvatore Nora, this guy was a former NYPD detective. He was disciplined for escort service ties. He was rumored to be in Epstein's black book. So you have a police officer. Let's go to Zurab. Zurab, Georgian doctor or researcher, Epstein connection unclear. He's one that was hard to find information on myself. Leonid Lenov, likely, we're not sure. Leonard Lenov, Soviet novelist, 1899 to 1994, no evident Epstein link. And I'm not certain that that's the same person, but when I searched this name, I couldn't find anything. Niccolo Caputo. Some of you might be familiar with this one. He was an Italian politician. He was a former member of the European Parliament. His term ended in 2019. He's still alive and kicking. This one is probably another one is really damning. I'm going to show you about. Sultan Ahmad bin Salayem. He is an Emirati businessman of DP World CEO. He exchanged emails with Epstein. He didn't just exchange emails with Epstein. That is the guy that sent that infamous email that said the torture video. That's who that came from. He's in Dubai. So when I said this was global, this is global. And by the way, I honestly, seriously, don't want people to think that just because these files are being released, that this stopped. I still believe that people are being trafficked today. They can create another Epstein just like that. And of course, Les Wexner, U.S. billionaire, L Brands founder, Epstein's financial manager from 1987 to 2007. That's how long he knew Jeffrey Epstein. So like I said, it goes way back. Nicola Caputo, here's a picture of him here. Again, this guy served in the European Parliament. He is one of the 6 people that is listed as an alleged co-conspirator. So you got a politician, you got a police officer, and you have a politician. Sultan Ahmad, who I was just telling you about, prominent Emirati businessman. This is the guy that said he loved the child torture videos, according to the Epstein files. So this guy was just speaking at the World Economic Forum. These are the powerful people who are making decisions and don't get caught doing crimes. He was just there. And it's not the first time that he's been at the World Economic Forum. He's a frequent speaker. He's part of the group deciding what to do with our lives. Our lives. Let's go to the next one here. I want to make sure I'm not going to a repeat. Let's get to the Thomas Massie part because there's more to discuss here. Thomas Massie had a back and forth here with Todd Blanche. He said, in response to my ex post today, the DOJ unredacted FBI file that labels 2 individuals as co-conspirators, unredacted a file that lists several men who might be implicated, tactically admitted that Sultan Ahmed was the sender of the torture video. This guy should be locked up immediately. That is absolutely insane. Massie goes on to say this is significant because Kash Patel testified to Congress that FBI had no evidence of other sex traffickers. This is the FBI's own 2019 document listing Wexner as a co-conspirator. It wasn't unredacted until tonight. And he's responding to Todd Blanche, who's been a complete liar ass. He said, you looked at the document, you know it's an email address that was redacted. The law requires redactions for personally identifiable information, including if in an email address, and you know that the Sultan's name is available unredacted in the files. See this number, be honest, stop grandstanding. So that's Todd Blanche here. And even Community Notes had to call him out. It says the Epstein Files Transparency Act allows redaction of P2 only in very narrow circumstances, such as unwarranted invasion of privacy or the risk of jeopardizing a federal investigation. So he received a community note there. But the reality is Todd Blanche is lying because Todd Blanche didn't even unredact the names until the pressure came from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. Now he's out here acting like, well, it was there all along. It was there all along, and the name was redacted. Do you see how these people just continuously lie? I want to take you back, just a reminder, at what Todd Blanche said at the very beginning about these files before this latest dump.
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't understand English.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's,
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women.
You see, they can't even cover up their own lies, ladies and gentlemen. He made you believe, well, we don't know. If we had that information, of course we would prosecute them. Guys, they had this information the whole time. That information has been sitting there for a long, long time. And they sat there and they lied, like, repeatedly. Thomas Massey comes back and says, until tonight, no one knew who sent the torture video to Epstein. I went to the DOJ, unredacted the email, and reverse searched the email to discover it was a sultan. Our law requires victims' information to be redacted, not information of men who sent Epstein torture porn. I have to tell you guys, I've seen some things in my life, and I've seen a lot of lying coming from the government and politicians. But this one by far, I think, has been the absolute worst. These people are acting like Todd Blanche is pretending as if his ass wasn't just recorded a couple of days ago. As if he was not on record saying, well, if we had the information. They had it the whole time. Kash Patel and them had it as well. Let's get to some other people that are in these files. Howard Lutnick was called to testify in front of Congress. This is someone who was also Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor. This guy is a part of the Trump administration. Howard Lutnick is probably one of the worst because he actually went to the island. Listen to this.
In his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about
in his apartment.
So Howard got a little bit of a problem, right? Because you see all these people, well, I didn't know he was like that. And then when I found out, I realized he was creepy. I didn't have anything to do with him anymore. Melinda Gates said the first time she met him, he was evil personified. You lived next door to him. Let's go to the next part here. Eric lived next door to him, Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick lived next door to Jeffrey Epstein. But he claimed to know nothing about nothing. And then this guy took his children to the island. He's probably one of the ones that's in the most damning position, because the excuse a lot of people have been able to use is that they never went to that island. He can't say that because it's in the files. Here he is confronted here.
People about your interactions with Epstein? Did you have any financial involvement with Jeffrey Epstein? Why did you keep contact with Jeffrey Epstein after he pled guilty to sex crimes?
Come on, give us some space.
What do you say to the Democrats calling on for you to resign?
Give us some space.
Mr. Epstein, people of your level in the British government have been forced to resign. Will you resign?
Give us some space. Give us some space.
Why did you keep contact with Jeffrey Epstein after he pled guilty?
I look forward to testifying today.
Did you mischaracterize your relationship with him?
Some space.
Why did you say you found him gross but still kept in contact with him?
What do you say to those who are calling for you to resign now?
Are you willing to speak to Congress about this?
I'm going to speak to Congress right now.
Do you expect to be asked about Epstein?
This is one of the more damning things, right? The people who chose to continue to hang out with him and keep in contact with him after the conviction. And these are the people you really have to look at further. You know, like some people are like, I knew him back in 2007, then I never saw him again. The people who continue to have a relationship with him after, very suspect. Howard Lutnick needs to resign. He also needs, in my opinion, he needs to go to jail. Alan Dershowitz is out there losing his shit. He's mad. Marjorie Taylor Greene here, she said that this right here is exactly why the Epstein victims are afraid to publicly name the list of rich, powerful men. They will get sued, bankrupt, and silenced. Releasing all of the Epstein files reveals the truth about everyone. And so I'll show you what Alan Dershowitz said here. He's pissed.
Because since the 1950s, I want you to look at this paper that has been reproduced and sent by the Justice Department. It's called Prominent Names. And it's a list of prominent people who have been accused. Every single name of every accuser has been blacked out. So, for example, let's turn to me. It says blank, 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 blacked out, stated she gave him a massage on Epstein's plane, parenthesis, not a minor. So let's understand that. This is an adult, a woman who was on Epstein's plane. She says, I was never on an Epstein plane with a young woman.
Right.
I never got a massage. This is total defamation, a total lie.
I'm confused. When he was on Kim Iverson's show, now he's saying he never got a massage. But when he was on Kim Iverson's show, he said he did get a massage. So is he just saying he didn't get a massage on the plane? He wasn't on the plane. You know, nobody was on the plane, but they were there. Like, you know, what did you do? Fly? Did you like flap your arms to get to Jeffrey Epstein's like island or whatever? Like, I just don't believe this. All these people are like, I wasn't on the plane. We were just business partners. Oh, there's a picture of you hanging out with them here on the beach. Oh, whoops. I mean, yeah, I only hung out that one time, but I wasn't on the island. Picture here shows that this was actually the island. Oh, damn. Yeah, I was on the island, but you know, I was only there on business. Yeah. People tripping all over their words.
But I can't disprove it because they won't give me her name. That's McCarthyism on the issue of his spying Okay, well, let me continue.
Let's get
on
to
the issue of his for the Mossad. That comes from what is called an undercover confidential source. I happen to know who the source is. The source is somebody who the FBI investigated, found to be totally incredible, lacked all credibility. This is the worst form of McCarthyism. Why are we tolerating this? Why are we allowing accusations without the names of the accusers? For example, in my case, it's
who's we? Like he's ranting here on Newsmax. Who is we? Because the way I see it, there's no we in this equation. You're sitting there on the media. So what is he saying? He's like, the media shouldn't talk about this anymore. Second of all, yeah, victims do have a right to have their name redacted. And for this reason, the way that he's behaving right now, this is why they have not come forward with names. The women didn't come forward with names because they knew something like this would happen.
an adult woman. We don't know whether she's a victim. We don't know whether she's a perpetrator. We don't know whether she's a co-conspirator. Why do you hide her name and produce the name of the people who are accused? That's guilt by accusation. That's guilt by association. It's McCarthyism. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It has to stop. And the media is playing a role in this. Politicians are playing a role in this. Epstein will never
Let
be
me jump
remembered
in for a second.
He will be remembered for inciting McCarthyism that infects America now more than it ever has since the 1950s. It has to stop.
But I thought you said Epstein was innocent. You represented him. No? Everybody's losing their shit because of a big shakedown. We have another person I think you should pay close attention to here. Did you guys know that the owner of The Atlantic was buddy-buddy with Ghislaine Maxwell? Here she is. See, everybody's shit coming out. So when you read the media, you know what I'm saying? This is important. They just put out an article in The Atlantic telling people, well, basically the Epstein files are just a lot of conspiracy. You don't think that propaganda, the message that was just released by The Atlantic, you don't think that had anything to do with the relationship that she had with Ghislaine Maxwell? This is how people get protected. And then check this out. Her name is Laurene Powell. She was one of Kamala Harris's biggest bankrollers and closest friends. So you see what I'm saying? That's why I say the Epstein files are bipartisan. This is a class issue. You have group of elites who exploited and abused underage people. You have Epstein, who was a spy, basically for Israel, and he collected blackmail on people. It is one big damn club. Shout out to Professor Zinkus for this one. See? So you got the media in the same club with the woman right now who's in jail asking for a fucking pardon. All of these people roll together. Here's another thing that was revealed recently from the files. You guys have got to hear this, especially if you pay for the school pictures. Life Touch photo is in the Epstein files. Why are they in there?
Factualicans, did y'all see that the Life Touch photo company, the one that be involved in all y'all kids' school pictures damn near? Did y'all see that they was in them files, bro? How do you explain that shit, bro? What do y'all think they was doing with those pictures and information? Because when you go to pay for your kids' pictures and you fill out that form and send it back to them, you send them your address, you send them your kid's name, I think your height, description, I think even a phone number, depending on the date and time on when you did it. Because back then it used to be like address, house phone, maybe. I don't even think it was a house phone, to be honest. But point of it is, though, you're literally giving them information about your children and where you live and located at, what city and state, so they can mail you the pictures. Remember, they used to mail the pictures to you. Dog. Now, I ain't saying that's what they were doing in the files, because it hasn't came out yet on exactly what their role was and why they were mentioned in the files. But if you can translate that to nowadays, right? It's the same thing they do when they're building data nowadays. Phone companies do it. Temu did it. Sheen did it. They sell your email and stuff to other companies that want to send out blasts and track data, you know? Now imagine back in the day what they was doing with that. Back before technology was able to track all this stuff, they was probably getting away with. Dog. And then if you go look back in history, like all the amount of kids that went missing and kids that still go missing to this day, bro, it makes sense.
How many of you remember growing up during a time where there was a kid's picture on the milk carton and said this kid was missing? You know, this didn't start with Jeffrey Epstein. This stuff has been going on for a long time. And like I said, they can replace him with someone else very easily. Here's another one that came out. Newly released documents show Epstein owned girls' clothing store Justice. Now, some of the women may be familiar with this. Justice, it was a store in the mall for younger girls. And it shows it here, June 25th, 2001, transfer of 2TOO Inc. That transfer there was done by Les Wexner. Same guy again. I'm telling you, all the financial shit goes back to Les Wexner. One of the first public complaints about sexual abuse goes back to Les Wexner. And that's why I said, of all the people that need to testify in front of Congress, it's that dude. So there was a transfer there. Something else that came through on the Epstein files. Remember when Donald Trump said that it was a lie? He didn't sign that birthday book for Jeffrey Epstein. According to the files, that was a lie. New Epstein file discusses the 2003 birthday book with the alleged birthday book note sent by Donald Trump, a note he denies writing. This email, which is redacted, explicitly notes requests for the birthday book from Trump. So you can see this right here. B-Day book update. Todd Meister says he never got the papers, so FedEx him a new set today. FYI, we sent the papers to him at the Regency Hotel weeks ago. LM for blank. George Mitchell, I don't know who this person is, redacted. Donald Trump, Henry Jarecki, and Leon Black. So there it is right there. Again, the B-Day book. Also, I want you to remember something. Again, they are showing you the names that they want you to see. There's millions of files that still were not released. And there's still a lot of names that are redacted. Basically, what I think the DOJ and the elites have decided is that these are going to be the fall guys. Those 6 names that they were able to unredact, that Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie announced, that's who the DOJ decided is going to be the fall guys. So those people aren't the head of the snake. That's how this works, ladies and gents. There's another one here. Listen to Representative Becca Balint. She also talks about the unredacted files. Listen to what she says here.
Just wanted to ask you, have you had a chance to review any of the unredacted files over at the DOJ, the Epstein files?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I just came from there.
What can you tell us?
There's a bunch of sick fucks.
And I mean, anything more that we don't know? I feel like that's pretty well established.
I know. I think the part that is just so disgusting is that so many people knew.
Did he have any ties to any intelligence agencies? We've established some in our reporting, but wanted to know based on the file.
I only had about a half hour, so I'm going to go back again tomorrow.
Okay.
So mostly today, I was just trying to go through a couple of documents that was particularly interested in finding out.
What were those?
One was related to whether or not Trump, had ever kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, as he claimed.
What'd you find?
It's not true.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Yep, because one of the documents in the Epstein file shows that Jeffrey Epstein, even after that date where Donald Trump said, well, I kicked him out and such, one of those documents showed that Jeffrey Epstein was having a conversation with someone else and said he was on his way to Mar-a-Lago. So all of these people, they're liars. MTG, she's no longer in Congress, but she's still commenting about this. Listen to her explain how everyone is covering it up.
Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly killed. That's on an FBI form. That's not somebody calling in an anonymous tip or writing it on some deep, dark place in the internet. That's an actual FBI file stating what happened. And people are going to have to completely take in what they are seeing with their own eyes, what they're reading, and what they're being told. The reality is the Trump administration is not releasing the information. And I got yelled at by the president over this. This is why he called me a traitor. He called me a traitor because I would not take my name off the discharge petition, because I stood firmly and said, no, we're going to release the Epstein files. I'm standing with women who were raped as teenagers. I'm not standing with the government. I don't support the cover up of all of this stuff, whatever it may be. And the president got mad at me and he told me, and I've said this multiple times, he told me his friends would get hurt. And that's what he told me. And then we're seeing a continued slow walk and cover up of a lot of this information. And I know that is why. I firmly believe that that's why it is being covered up. Look, Pam Bondi works directly for Donald Trump. She is not out there an independent attorney general. She can't just run out and do whatever she wants. She works at the pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. Everybody in the administration does. So does the FBI. Yep. They're under the very same pleasure and approval of the President of the United States.
What I tell you guys, so for all the times that people were like, it's Kash Patel, it's Dan Bongino, it's Pam Bondi, what did I tell you? They all work for him. So they are doing what Donald Trump wants them to do. As to me said, MTL looks better since she left office. Hell, she probably stress-free. The stress is probably gone, right? What do they say, that people like age faster when they get into politics or something like that?
So when everyone's getting mad at Pam Bondi, or you can name anybody you want. The man at the top is Donald Trump. He's the president. And he's the one that was completely against releasing the files when we started fighting to get them released. He's the one that called it a Democrat hoax. He's the one that, he invites everybody to the White House, but he will not invite these women that have defended him, by the way. They have defended him and said Donald Trump did nothing wrong. They have defended him, yet he doesn't bring them in the White House and support them. But what you're seeing is if it looks like a duck, and if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Or it might be a Lutnick.
Right.
Or it might be a Lutnick duck.
Quack, quack. And so here we go. And it's one of those things that I say, you know, I think that it takes it's a reckoning. I think, you know, for some people, this is a lot to deal with because they feel betrayed. And I'd say if you voted for Donald Trump and you feel betrayed, you were rightfully so to feel betrayed because he's obviously ran on something that he really ain't, you know, is not what he is. All these people are liars. And to make everything crazy, Ghislaine Maxwell and her crazy ass, she has the audacity to plead the fifth. This woman is stating that she will give information if she gets a pardon from Donald Trump. The gall of this woman, when I think about the lives that she ruined, for her to sit up there and say that she deserves a pardon, this woman has absolutely no regret. This woman has no remorse. That is a cruel, vindictive person. And she was not someone that just recruited girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Per Virginia Giuffre's own words, she participated in the abuse. This is what she said here in front of the Oversight Committee.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell.
And that's all it is. It goes on and on with her saying, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. So she's asking for some type of pardon. By the way, they showed pictures of her cell where she's staying. She's doing just fine. She does not have horrible prison cell-like conditions. So there's that. Now, some of the Congress members, after reviewing these unredacted files, they were approached. One of them being Lauren Boebert. Let me show you what she said.
Congresswoman, are you among the members who got to see the unredacted files today?
Yes, I saw some of them, not all of them, obviously. And I'll be going back tomorrow to see more.
Any reaction on what you've seen so far?
I think that there's folks who are definitely implicated and co-conspirators. And, I don't think everyone there that was talking about underage girls being trafficked are victims.
Got it. And do you support any clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? She was saying that she
I
was...
do not.
Okay.
I think Ghislaine Maxwell should get more time, and she should definitely be in a harsher prison than what she's in. It's absolutely disgusting.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
You know, these are people breaking away from Trump here a little bit, as you'll see. Lauren Boebert, she was also one of the ones that supported the release of the Epstein files. Here's Representative Luna when she was questioned.
Congresswoman, real quick, you said that you do not support at all Ghislaine Maxwell getting any clemency for her testimony. And why is it important for her to be held accountable?
Well, because according to the files that we all saw, she was engaged in the trafficking and also rape of young women and potentially children. I don't think that she deserves any special treatment. She's a monster.
And are you going to...
A monster there. We'll go on to the next part here. I just want to remind you again, Kash Patel and his lying ass. What did he tell you?
No credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one
For the information that we have
in the files.
in the case file.
Okay.
For the information that they had, they have the same information that we're looking at today. All these people need to resign. We can go further here and show you what happened when this question was brought up at Turning Point USA in Tampa, Florida, about the Epstein files. Again, this is a TPUSA event.
How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
Donald Trump, you got a problem. Congress, you guys also, you have a problem. That's from TPUSA event. To sum this up this way, I saw this video of this guy and it went viral. He was in the airport in Atlanta. And I feel like everybody should feel this type of rage right now. For people laughing at him, asking him what's going on, what's wrong with him. Everybody should have this same type of energy.
Because the Epstein files have been released. All of y'all are acting fucking normal. Epstein files have been released. And all of y'all are acting normal. All of y'all are acting normal. They can laugh, but y'all can Google it. They can laugh, but y'all can Google it. The Epstein files have been released, and all of y'all are acting normal. All of y'all are acting normal.
They're really
All of y'all
constipated.
are acting normal.
They might not lost their goddamn mind.
Fucking airport is acting normal.
Everybody's probably.
No, you shut the fuck up.
Wait, don't say nothing.
Because the Epstein files, what I'm reading, and everybody in this room can read. If you go to Google right now, everybody in this room can read. They are eating babies. They are trafficking children. And if you think for a second any fucking thing in your life matters, you are on the fucking wrong side of history. You are on the fucking wrong side of history. It don't matter about this fight. It don't matter about who in this fucking airport. It don't matter about this nigga walking past me right now. I don't.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people were making fun of him, but the reality is everybody should be just as outraged. What he said is you guys are acting normal. And it's true. People are acting too damn normal. The number of things that I've seen in those files, and they just keep continuing every day. I'm disgusted by what I've seen in those files, whether it's been the images, whether it's been the emails. It is absolutely sick and disgusting. The rituals, them talking about cannibalism of babies, of freaking children, and everybody's just walking around like la di da di da. It's absolutely insane. And I have to say this for the victims as well. People don't realize that these women have been through it. People who are victims of sexual violence, sexual abuse, that changes their entire life. Do you understand? For these girls to have these things happen to them, especially as teenagers, this changes your life. Who can you trust? This can cause them to have problems down the road with developing relationships, a romantic relationship with a future partner. And this is why I felt some type of way when I saw people defending Noam Chomsky harder than they were defending these damn victims. That's when I knew people have lost the fucking plot. Some of you sit back and you pretend like you don't have sisters. You pretend like you don't have daughters. You pretend like you don't have mothers. Some of the comments that I have seen and other people online blaming and shaming the victims. What the hell is wrong with you? All to protect your politician. All to protect your academic hero. Children. So I think we have a long way to go as a society. We still have a way to go. Because I'm seeing the same people who say we care about the women and the children and we care about family values are online shaming the women who were children. So no, you don't care about the women and the children. You just care about fighting for your damn team. I said the same thing for the liberals who were like, oh no, they better not go after Bill and Hillary Clinton. No, get the fuck up out of here. Bill Clinton ain't never keep his damn hands to himself. Why are you pretending like, oh my God, I can't believe that they subpoena Bill Clinton. They want to talk to him. Bill Clinton has never kept his hands to himself. This guy slept with the fucking intern. Stop acting like these people are heroes and idols and get past your damn self and call out things for what they are. It's disgusting. I don't know what else to expect from here. Hopefully we can get more names out, but people need to be fucking arrested. Les Wexner needs to be called to testify in front of Congress. That's a sneaky motherfucker. That one right there. And they need to call him before he get his passport and he try to leave the fucking country. That guy should have been called a long damn time ago. And everyone else, Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, all these people who are running defense for these monsters, they're all complicit regardless of political party. Can we get that poll, Eric? We're going to do call in just a couple of minutes. I want to see the poll. I'll go ahead and bring that up as well. All right. I'm curious to see how many people knew. Thank you guys so much for the poll. Some of the Epstein names have been revealed. Have you seen the unredacted list? 6% said, yes, I know all the names. 5% said, yes, I don't know those names. So they saw it, but they didn't know the names. 20% said, yes, I saw it. I know some of the names. But 69% of voters said that they didn't see it. So that's interesting. Over 3,500 votes. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and we will dive into the call-in portion of the show where you can call in. And I think Eric's going to get to the other super chats in the meantime.
Yep, I'll read those out. I'm glad you remember the poll. I forgot about it.
Yay! All right, guys, I'll be back in about 10.
All right. I'm going to do a little break here for Sabrina, and she's going to be setting up the Zoom Hangout. That's the call-in. We used to do it on a call-in app, but then that disappeared. But now we do it on Zoom, and this is a chance where you all can tell us what you think. We can talk about stories that we covered tonight, like of course the big Epstein story. You got the Chris Hedges, Robert Kraft, just looking over what we covered tonight. The Black Bombers, even in Discord. Or you can talk about other things that you like. We'll be giving you that link out shortly, and we'll also set it up on sabbysabs2.com to make it easy to get to. Sabrina's actually setting up the Zoom room now, and then we'll be giving you that link, and we can see what kind of conversations we have in there. The whole, things. What's really interesting, at least to me. I always like to step back on these things and look at the big picture and the systemic things. And I'm just struck by how, like, it just feels like in this day and age, you just can't keep things secret anymore. It's just not something we can really do in this day and age. Everybody has a video camera in their pocket. The internet information is everywhere, and I think we're seeing the effects of that. And there can be good parts of it and bad parts of it, but I think in the long run, it's for the better, because we need this kind of transparency. Sabrina mentioned with some of the Chomsky stuff, you got the elitist aspect of it, where there are these people who are in the elite positions, whether it's academics or even like members of Congress, and of course the billionaires in that class, who are all like, it's different rules for them than for us, is a big part of it. So so you can't have these people be your hero. You need to be your own hero. We need to work on these things together, collaborate on a movement that's that has clear demands, that focuses on the corruption. If you want to see more about that, as always, look at 11demands.org. But meanwhile, let's look at some chats, because we got a good deal of these built up in the queue, and some of these will go back to the previous story. Excuse me, some of the previous story as well. All right, thanks for the super chat. Salt and Pepper Natural, who says, these files prove no one is above reproach. And shout out to Max Roy, who says, first to donate. All right. And shout out to Aaron Taylor for being a member for 8 months, who's using his special member chat to say, we as FBA have to contribute to ourselves. There you go. And shout out to KB 2009 100 for becoming a new member. And a big shout out to Turbo Jerko for gifting 10 Sabby memberships that I saw people were picking up. And shout out to Adrian Jones for being a member for 2 months now, who says, I've been trying to reach Sabby about some important things to ask and accomplish. Why the farmers can't sell meat and goods to us, so much to say. You can, there is a contact email in the video descriptions. That may be the best bet if you're trying to make contact. And thanks for the super chat from Sparky, who says, love you, Sabby. You do terrific work. You are still the bestest girl ever. All right, Sparky. And thanks also for this one. Sparky says, Sabby, remember Malaysian airliner MH370, a Boeing 777, which disappeared somewhere in the Indian Ocean back in 2014. Is there anything in the Epstein files about it? A pilot was a political activist. I don't know if there are, but I would expect if there was some kind of juicy connection like that, I think we would hear about it, but we'll see. And thanks for the super chat, Adrienne, who says, saw YouTube of a man say they drink B from Yugen grind up to sell McD over 65 mil per day. Not that much cattle. Did you see TC and Roseanne? And thanks for the super chat, Unemployed Scholar. He's not in jail, but people in jail make that company's apparel. Yeah, I think talking about the basically slave labor out of our jails. And thanks for this one, Mum's the Word. He says, you're the best, Sabby. Thanks for the hard work. And thanks, Turbo Jerko, for the super chat. He said boat, then 2 minutes later, he said island. Talking about that, that testimony. And thanks for this one, Wrong Spell. The ones building mass surveillance are criminals. And shout out to Turbo Jerko for this one. Sabby, have you seen the Epstein's niece video? Wow, okay, we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. And thanks, Turbo Jerko. I think he gifted some more memberships, so appreciate that. And also AJ for doing a membership gift. And thanks, Turbo Jericho. Remember, people, this is nonpartisan. Don't get stuck on lesser of two evils as a trap. They are all evil. Yeah, and that makes me think of. I mean, I do think that Massey and Kana, certainly deserve some credit for pushing on this and getting things out there. But I mean, you still have to ask the question, well, why are they still members of these genocidal and I don't know how to say it safely, parties that are at the root core of a lot of this. The party leadership, I mean, they're part of this whole Epstein thing. So, I would say to them, great that you're doing this, but why are you guys still members of these, terrible, problematic, evil parties? What I would say. Let's see, where are we here? Yeah. All right, and thanks for this super chat, D. Their corporate overlords bought their silence. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly how things play in the corporate establishment. Money talks, and money can also silence people and keep people out of trouble. And thanks, Geobot, who says, bro is the one having a normal response. It's, I think, talking about the guy shouting in the airport. Bro is the one having a normal response. It's impossible to go through these files without crying, without feeling just how he did. I hear you. And thanks for the super chat, Shellbell, who says, keep going, Max Sabby, and sending love. Appreciate that. And we got one more here from Mr. Turbo Jericho, who says, there was a new CEO for Discord. He's major pro-Israel guy. Wonder what's going to happen there. Yeah, we covered that tonight, and using the excuse of protect the children to enact censorship. Now we got one more out here. Let me find the right click button. There it is. We got a Rumble rant. So thanks for the rant on Rumble from Goo81, who says, Kraft is in the Epstein files. And by the way, I can't send this message through YouTube. All right. Well, I'm glad you got it through. Hit this. And yeah, with the whole Discord thing, it makes me think of, there is a big part of this that's the whole reject censorship issue. And if you go to 11demands.org, which I'll do here on this screen, there is, get that out of there. There we go. 11demands.org. If you look at the 11 demands list, one of the 11, is very much about this type of thing. It's about rejecting censorship. There it is, number 7, reject censorship. And, it gets into this idea of, you need to protect freedom of speech, and that, can be directly from the government. But we also, especially in this day and age where Twitter X and platforms like Discord and these other platforms, these are the public square now. You also have to prevent the government from limiting freedom of speech using these corporations. And, the other big ones in this, break up and nationalize these large corporations and reorganize them as employee owned and govern. And, all these items in there just get into how you actually protecting free speech. And these are, an important part of the demands that we all need to have and to build a movement around. All roads lead back to government, really. None of this stuff gets fixed as long as we have this totally corrupt government. So I always like to connect those dots. It's about that. It's about interests. Whose interests are they working for? And right now it's not ours. So we need to demand that it become ours.
That's right. Okay, we are going to head on over to Colin. I want to hear your opinions. What do you guys think? The link is pinned at the very top of the live chat there, ladies and gents. So let me go ahead and open the room while I am on
while we're here hanging out
stream here. When you join, I ask that you mute your mic The way this works, if you're new to call in, the after show that we do where you get to call in and talk to everybody, the passcode is there in the chat too. If you're looking for the passcode to log in, it's there in the chat too.
Yeah,
as well.
apparently it's asking for the passcode.
Yeah, sometimes it asks for it, sometimes it doesn't. If you want to speak, the way this works, at the very bottom of the screen on Zoom, there's an option to raise your hand. If you click on that, that lets me know that you want me to call on you to speak. Really interested in hearing your perspective about all of this stuff, guys, ladies and gentlemen. These are crazy times. But yeah, that passcode is there pinned at the top of the chat. Some people have already entered the Zoom room. We go until midnight Eastern time. So we do this for 2 hours. If you come into the show a little bit later and you want to join the call-in, you can go to sabrinasalvati.com to get that Zoom link and that passcode.
Or you can go there now.
But just a reminder that at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we cut it off because Sabby has to get to sleep. See,
It's actually 12 a.m.
Yeah, 12 a.m. Sorry.
You don't want to promise 12 more hours, I don't think. No.
Yeah.
That would be a
So
long
let's go ahead and dive
Go
in
in
and over
midnight.
there. Again, you can go to sabrinasalvati.com to get those links, guys, or it's pinned at the very top of the chat. And people are already in the room now. So we're going to go ahead and end the stream, ladies and gents. We'll be
You
live
can set
again.
me up as co-host in Zoom.
Yeah. We'll be live again Thursday evening, ladies and gents, and the Sunday live show will resume this Sunday. We'll be back on the Sunday show. I think that it looks like Tara Reid is going to be here Sunday. She has quite a bit to say because she has been quite angry. Eric, if you can just raise your hand so I can, that way you'll be at the top of the, there we go. Okay, thanks. All right, guys, that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining me and listening to my rants. Have a good night. Keep up the fight. Yeah.